Meeting called to order. Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Chapman.
Here.
Councilmember Clayton.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here.
Please stand for a silent prayer, moment of reflection. Now salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As complied with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in the following manner. The special meeting notice was forwarded to the Asbury Park Press and the Coaster on February 10, 2026, and posted on the bulletin board the same date. All notices are on file with the city clerk. We're now on to a presentation by Waterfront Redevelopment Attorney Joe Marizzi.
Hold on.
Apologies.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. So I'd like to thank a couple of people. I'd like to thank the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education, the Board of Education staff for letting us use this fine facility tonight.
Can you turn it up?
Can you turn it up? Okay, and there are seats closer, so feel free to move down. Okay, and there are seats closer in the first 5 rows. So if you want to move down, we won't have to do that again, but I'll keep it closer. So again, I thank the Board of Education, I thank the city staff, be it Nate, Joe, and Andy, for getting all this ready in such a short time frame. Wasn't easy to do, but we got it done. Tonight's meeting is basically going to be, we're going to have Mr. Marizzi, our redevelopment attorney, make a presentation. And then after that, we'll open it up to questions. Now, for this to go smooth, we need everybody to cooperate. We can't have cross conversations. When you get up to the microphone, you'll have 3 minutes. If the buzzer goes off, feel free to finish your sentence, but don't make it like War and Peace sentence. And again, no cross conversations. We want everybody to get a shot at the microphone. So the easier everybody is as far as making it go smooth, we can make sure everybody gets to the microphone tonight. And with that, we'll open it up with Mr. Marizzi. Hold on a second. It's only a couple minutes after 6. Let's wait till like 6:05 or so in case a couple people are late. So we don't have to do it twice. Okay, it's 5 after, so everybody would just settle down. We're going to start, and Mr. Marizzi, the redevelopment attorney, is going to start off with a presentation. Thank you, and again, let's everybody just be respectful, and we can all get through this, and everybody can ask all their questions.
Mayor, members of the council, and members of the Asbury Park community. Can you hear me? No, okay. When you can't hear me, raise your hand, and I'll know what that means. Can you hear me now? You can hear me now, okay. So, as the mayor said, my name is Joe Marizzi. My partner, Joanne Voss, is with me. We are a special redevelopment council. You can't hear me? I'll try it. Can you raise the volume?
I'm working on bringing it up.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're working on the volume. Just give us a minute. Is that better? No, not better. Okay, I hear you. I hear you. I want to be heard, so we're going to take time to get it done. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. So, as I was saying, my name is Joe Marizzi, and my partner, Joanne Voss, is with me. We serve as Special Redevelopment Counsel to Asbury Park for the waterfront redevelopment area. We have served in that position at our firm since 2018. So we were not here when these documents that I'm going to talk about tonight were drafted and executed. But I was delighted when we were appointed in 2018 because I spent many of my summer teenage years in Asbury Park, and I love this city. So what we're going to do tonight is give it an information session about the many documents that affect the issues that I know you're all concerned about. The mayor has asked me to present a transparent explanation of all these documents that represent the situations we are in. I am, of course, going to be operating within the bounds of attorney-client because I am in a public session here. I have to be careful that I don't say something that gives a basis for an adversary at some time in the future to put Asbury Park in a disadvantaged position. So I'm not going to be giving any opinions tonight. I'm going to be laying out the facts of the documents. I'm not giving any position, any comments on the merits of the claims here. This is not a confidential setting, and I know that everything I say here will be preserved and reviewed perhaps in the future. So let me give you an overview of what I am going to do, what we are going to do. First, I'm going to go through the identity of the key documents. There's many documents, many thousands of pages, but there are key documents that need to be understood. I'm going to describe the redevelopment agreements with Asbury Partners, now known as iStar, sometimes as Starfield. I'm going to talk about the redevelopment agreement with Madison Asbury Retail. I sometimes refer to them as MAR. They are a subsidiary of a much larger entity, Madison Marquette. I'm going to review the alternatives of litigation and, in a general way, talk about what litigation would mean, what it would involve. I'm going to talk about condemnation or eminent domain, as it's sometimes referred to. Those are interchangeable terms. And I'm going to then update the situation with respect to the grant for the partial repair of Paramount Theater. And I'm finally going to talk about the historic tax credits and cafe tax credit applications that are pending before NJDEA right now. We also are going to go through a few frequently asked questions before I finish my presentation. Joanne and I are going to do that because there's a lot of confusion, understandably, about the situation the city is in. It's understandable because the documents are multiple and they are confusing. And the purpose of tonight is to try to clarify and lead to a better understanding of the actual situation that presents itself in Asbury Park. So I am going to start with, now why isn't this working? Did we not charge it enough?
Might have turned the cell phone.
Oh, okay.
Speakers are not on.
Well, I'm not talking. Okay, here we go. Thank you. So, one thing I want to do, and you're all familiar with this. Oops. Okay. I wasn't talking. I sometimes pause. So here is the first slide to orient us. And you know this scene. I'm going to be talking about the waterfront redevelopment area. This is a piece of it. I'm circling now the Convention Hall, Paramount Theater, Grand Arcade. I call it the Convention Hall Complex. That is an MAR project, as you know. In this end of the boardwalk is the casino, the carousel, and the boardwalk arcade that's sometimes referred to as the breezeway. That's not the proper terminology in the documents. I will sometimes use it by mistake, but the proper designation is the boardwalk arcade. Now, those items I've just mentioned are under the control of Madison Asbury Retail. The boardwalk is city, and the beach is city. And then back here, and many blocks back, this is iStar, Starfield or Asbury Partners. There's a distinction between what Asbury Partners is doing here, in the name now of iStar, as between what is happening up here with Madison Asbury Retail.
The power plant is part of the casino complex or separate?
Yes, the power plant is, the question was, is the power plant part of the casino project? Wait a minute. I have to get back to that. It is down here. This, when I talk about that project, that's what I'm talking about. So, I wanted to make that distinction because I read that people are mixing up iStar and MAR, and this is to just orient the distinction. So the condo buildings that you're seeing going up are iStar. They're not Madison Asbury Retail. Important distinction. So these are the key documents that I want to talk about, and I'll talk about them individually in more detail. The waterfront redevelopment plan that was adopted in March of 2002. That's the operative redevelopment plan. Then we have the what's formerly called the Asbury Partners LLC amended and restated redeveloper land disposition agreement, October of 2002. And then we have the SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office, Historic Preservation Easement, that was entered into January 1st, 2004. Then we have the CAFRA permit, the Coastal Areas Facility Act permit. We'll talk about that in much more detail, but all these documents are important. And now we come to the Madison Asbury Retail Subsequent Developer Agreement, and that's June of 2010. And also in the mix is the Politan arbitration opinion that was issued in 2011. That was as a result of arbitration. We'll talk about that in more detail as we proceed. So the waterfront redevelopment plan, just to give you an idea what that is, that's like the birth certificate of all of this. It sets forth the vision, it sets forth the plan for the waterfront redevelopment area. It is a visionary document, it is something of a zoning document as well, and that is the document that gives the power to the city to enter into agreements with private parties to enter into the redevelopment process. And the details of each of the projects are then set forth in subsequent in redevelopment agreements. And we have subsequent redevelopment agreements, we have redevelopment agreements in this case. My next slide is to identify the waterfront redevelopment area. I mentioned we were special counsel for the waterfront redevelopment area. We do not provide any legal advice to the city in any other part of the city, and that area is depicted on this slide, and it's divided between the prime redevelopment area, which is this area here, and that's where the intention of the plan is for large blocks to be built on, and large structures. And behind that, it's less intense. Moving to the next one is the historic preservation easement with SHPO, and now I'll give you some relief from listening to me, and I'm going to ask Joanne to talk about that.
I got applause, Joe.
I guess you should notice that.
Yeah. I hope you can hear me. I've never been accused of being quiet, but if you can't hear me, then raise your hand and we'll do the Joe thing. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the document that's called the New Jersey SHPO Easement Agreement. That's what we call it. It's not the oldest document in the list of pertinent documents, but it is one of the cornerstone documents. If the redevelopment plan is the birth certificate, then maybe the SHPO easement is, a foundational brick. This document is an agreement that was entered into in January of 2004 among Asbury Partners, which, as you heard Joe say, is now known as iStar or Starfield. It's with the city, of course, and it's with SHPO. SHPO is the New Jersey State Historic Preservation Office. The obligations in this agreement were transferred to Madison Asbury Retail. Although the original agreement was entered into with Asbury Partners, it sticks to MAR because of the fact that they own the building. The building, and when I'm talking about the building now, by the way, I'm talking about Convention Hall Complex. This agreement applies only to Convention Hall Complex. It does not apply to casino, carousel, power plant. That's an important distinction to make. This agreement applies only to the Convention Hall Complex. And the reason it sticks to MAR, as I was saying, is simply because the property was transferred to MAR by Asbury Partners. And when that happened, the obligations in this agreement automatically went to MAR because this agreement runs with the land in perpetuity. That's just legal mumbo jumbo for saying it applies to anybody who owns the building. So if MAR sold the building tomorrow to Mickey Mouse, which they couldn't do, but if they did, they couldn't do it without city council approval. But if they did, Mickey Mouse would be bound by these same obligations. So what are the obligations? What does the SHPO easement do? There are really three primary obligations that are imposed upon the owner of the Convention Hall Complex at any given time, and they are: one, to prevent deterioration of the property; two, to maintain the protected features in good condition. I'm going to come back to what good condition means in a second. And three, needing no more than minor repair or routine maintenance and keeping the property accessible to the public. So good condition, what does that mean? According to the agreement itself, it means intact and structurally sound and having few or no cosmetic imperfections. That's the obligations that are set out in the SHPO easement, and I'll be back to talk to you again later.
So now I'm going to tell you quickly about the CAFRA permit. It is a fancy word of saying that it's a permit, an omnibus permit that the State Department of Environmental Protection gave to the entire concept of the redevelopment of the waterfront area. Rather than having to go to DEP project by project, this idea of a CAFRA permit was instituted to speed the process of redevelopment in areas needing it. And the first one was involving Long Branch. This was the second that I know. And it basically, in overview terms, allowed the construction of 3,164 residential units, 450,000 square feet of commercial. Multiple infrastructure projects are approved in this permit. It calls for and approves the rehabilitation of the boardwalk, the casino, convention hall, the powerhouse, etc. Those are all touched on in this document. And it imposes conditions, and one of the conditions we'll talk about later. So that's sort of DEP saying, from an environmental point of view, this is all fine. Now, each project must come in and get clearance, but it's a much more accelerated process than it would otherwise be. Now, we're going to talk about the first agreement. This is Asbury Partners in 2002. And that agreement says something very important. You can't read the small print, but it's summarized by the larger print, which says it supersedes all prior agreements. So they're all wiped away. There's language in many of the older agreements that looks great, and we'd love to still have it, but it is gone. There are many agreements that lead up to this. This is not the first. There are many redevelopment plans that lead up to the redevelopment plan that was adopted in 2002. The slate was wiped clean with the Asbury Partners 2002 agreement. So what does that call for? In broad terms, it implements the residential and retail aspects of the waterfront redevelopment plan. It provides for a maximum residential density, as I talked about before, of 3,164 units. That since has gone down to about 2,000 units because a number of the buildings that iStar is putting up are shorter than they could otherwise be. So you're not going to see the density that was permitted in that redevelopment agreement over time. It's less. It talks about the convention hall complex, the pavilions, all of these facilities that we're here to talk about tonight were sold by the city in 2002 to Asbury Partners. They're private property. They were sold at that time. It was a different time in Asbury Park than it is today. And they were sold, they were in very bad condition, sold to Asbury Partners for the purpose of renovating and rehabilitating the convention hall complex. The casino and the power plant were to be renovated regarding an Asbury Partners proposal. Now, I'm going to talk about MAR. Some of this goes away when we get to MAR. They were responsible for infrastructure projects. Now, what do I mean about that? The city needed, and still does, many important infrastructure projects, streets, sewers, water, stormwater control, curbs, all of that, which is stated at that time, the city could not afford to do. So the developer took on the responsibility to do that, at least on paper. And there is a consequence of that in the Politan decision. Judge Politan was a retired judge, and the story of this is very interesting because at that period of time, in 2010, I remember the agreement signed in 2002, it's 2010, and the city issues 4 or 5 or 6 notices of default to Asbury Partners, files a lawsuit to terminate the redevelopment agreement. It goes to court, it goes to Judge Lawson in Freehold, and he said, because of motions that are made in a litigation, you know, when you sue somebody, they don't say, okay, you have to fight. So what happened was that the Asbury Partners at that time pointed out that the agreement provided an arbitration clause, meaning what? That it had to go to an arbitrator. It couldn't go to the court. So the arbitrator is appointed, and it's retired Judge Politan. So what happens as a result of that arbitration? It concludes unsatisfactorily because he decides that many of those defaults were not actually material defaults. With respect to the termination of the agreement is denied. With respect to the key issue about the failure to proceed with the infrastructure projects that I talked about before, he said, yeah, that's a problem, but you guys should work it out. And so that's what happened. After this decision, when the lawsuit was filed by the city in 2010, after that, the 2011 decision, in the arbitration, then the parties got together and came up with the mechanism to finance the infrastructure projects.
Excuse me, was this still Asbury Partners?
Hey,
or-
sir,
I'm
sir,
sorry.
we're going to finish the presentation. You can ask all the questions now. Thank you.
This is Asbury Partners when this is happening. And so and by that time, iStar came in to pick up the pieces left by Asbury Partners, which went belly up a couple of these successive entities that tried to build, and some of you may remember the buildings that were attempted in that period of time. There was a skeleton at the beach. How many of you remember that skeleton up by the beach? Okay, so that skeleton lasted there for so many years. I was the chairman of the State Planning Commission around that time, and I always use that in my talks as an example of what goes wrong with redevelopment and why you should have a very strong redevelopment agreement and vet carefully the people you're entering into
About a
redevelopment
surety
agreement.
bond.
I don't think I'm allowed to respond
I'm
to
sorry,
comments from the
I'm
public.
getting excited.
Because it's not fair. It's not fair to everybody else in this room. So I can't respond to what you're saying. So therefore, they came up with a plan that is in effect today that provides for the financing of the infrastructure projects. And it is a complicated system that calls for special assessments to be made with respect to people who buy condos. They pay a special assessment to pay for the infrastructure. The infrastructure is not paid for by the citizens of Asbury Park who live here before the new owners come in. It's paid for by the new purchasers of the condos in Asbury Park. And there's I don't know what just happened, lights went down. And there is a redevelopment bond issue. It's very complicated, but to date, about $43 or $42 million has been spent on all of the infrastructure improvements that you are enjoying, not paid for from the city budget, paid for by new occupants and residents of Asbury Park through this complicated system. So that's what happened after the Politan decision in 2010. And now it started in 2010, and the decision was in 2011, but in 2010, arriving at the scene, actually, they arrived, Madison Asbury Retail came a couple of years before 2010. They started doing work under an MOU in 2008, as I recall, and they claim, and I haven't verified this, that they claim they spent a lot of money before they got to this stage of the agreement in 2010. So what happened in 2010 is that Asbury Partners, by this time it's iStar, decides to split its control of the waterfront and hang on to the residential piece, Ocean Avenue and West, and to transfer the retail aspects of it to Madison Asbury Retail, right? A subsidiary, as I said, of Madison Marquette. That transfers all of the projects that we are now concerned about. The Convention Hall complex, and when I say Convention Hall complex, I'm talking about Convention Hall, Paramount Theater, and the Grand Arcade in one complex. It transferred the casino, the Boardwalk Arcade, the building between that and the carousel, the power plant, all go to Madison Asbury Retail, as well as the pavilions along the boardwalk, where the restaurants are, and so on. So that's where that comes from, and now we have Madison Asbury Retail on the scene. And that agreement in 2010 wiped away another document that we would love to have today, the Dispute Resolution Agreement. That agreement laid out a schedule of work to be done in all of these facilities over time, identified it, set up escrows, and it was a rather robust document. The 2010 agreement with Madison Asbury Retail abolishes it. And then it also says Madison Asbury Retail only assumes obligations of Asbury Partners of their retail properties, very important, to the extent expressly set forth in the MAR document. That's important because that wipes away any other provisions about those documents that apply to MAR. And the other concept that is introduced is that they have to use commercially reasonable efforts to do all of this. Commercially reasonable efforts to develop, finance, construct, operate, and maintain retail properties. There's a qualifier there that must be borne in mind. Now, their obligation, this is the quote about their obligation regarding the convention hall complex. I'm going to read it. Madison Asbury MA Retail shall develop, finance, construct, operate, and maintain the retail projects on the retail properties consistent with applicable laws, governmental approvals, and the project documents. Retail properties, as I said before, are all those facilities that we're worried about falling apart. So that's their obligation. It goes on to say, you may not be able to see in the smaller print, after the completion of limited improvements that are set forth on two exhibits in the document, Exhibit O and Exhibit P, after they do that work, then MAR shall have no obligation to perform any further construction or renovation work in or to the convention hall property, whether pursuant to the project documents or otherwise. That's powerful language. Okay. So what's on O and P? O is a list of 4 or 5 things they had to do, and they got them done. And P is 2 or 3 items. And P included the fire suppression system, steps to the boardwalk, and another minor item that doesn't come quickly to my mind. But I know the steps are done and the fire suppression was done. So then this is the language we have. Now, their obligations regarding, it says, remember, they have no obligation except what's set forth in the document. Now, this is what it says about the casino project and the power plant project. The parties agree. The parties, remember, is Asbury Park and Madison Asbury Retail, agree that the future undertaking of the casino projects and the power plant projects shall require subsequent development. No, what did I do that for? Did I turn it off? Okay. Sorry about that.
You're doing great, Joe. You're doing great, Joe. So good.
That's the next. Okay. Now this is the one I had up. Many of you maybe can't see it. The parties agree that the future undertaking of the casino projects and the power plant projects shall require subsequent development agreements prior to the right to commence construction, and I'm going to insert the word prior to the obligation to undertake these projects arise. So that means we're waiting for a proposal from Madison Asbury Retail about what they're going to do to improve those projects. And then when we get the proposal, it's necessary to enter into negotiations to enter into a subsequent development agreement. Okay? That's an important thing to remember. Now, I know that there's some thoughts out there that there's no default provisions in the agreement. There are default provisions in the agreement. And that, those remedies, this is important, replace and supersede remedies in the, remember I was talking about the Asbury Partners 2002 agreement, there's a bunch of stuff in there we like, it's gone. Now the defaults in section 8.02, with respect to each of the retail projects, this subsequent developer agreement shall replace and supersede Article 8 of the redeveloper agreement, and any one or more of the following shall constitute an event of default by MA Retail. Provided, however, that the exercise of a particular remedy with respect to an event of default involving one retail project shall have no effect on another. So there are default provisions, but they're not what they were. Not what they were in the earlier agreement. And you know, remember too, the timing here. It's 2010. It's right around the Great Recession. The economy is in a shambles. The leverage that the city had was impacted by that situation in 2010 and affected language. So the remedies of the city in the event of a default are that you have to give a notice and an opportunity to cure, and then if you prove it, it's a default. You can terminate, rescind the developer designation, undertake any action in law or equity, including specific performance or an injunction. Those are the listed remedies that the city has if it proves that there's a default. So, what are the alternatives to the city given this background of the legal situation? I lay them out in more detail as we go forward here. One is condemnation or eminent domain.
Do it.
Another one is litigation. Another one, which I referred to before, is that $13 million grant to repair, to some degree, Paramount Theater, and then the MAR tax credit application. So I'm going to go down each one of those. Condemnation. There's a desire to use condemnation, but it should be understood what condemnation is all about. When you condemn private property as a public entity, you have to pay the fair market value of the property. And that requires appraisal. And that's an outcome we don't know. I understand that they think it's worth $20–30 million. I'm going to talk about Convention Hall now. There is an active retail operation in the Grand Arcade. All those assets, restaurants and so on, are figured into the valuation of that property. Once the appraisal is prepared, it must go to the other side, and then the law requires that there be good faith negotiations, because there's a great disincentive to take private property in our country because of our Constitution and our focus on property rights. So, what does good faith negotiations mean? And there's cases about this where the process gets stuck because the property owner says it's not good faith negotiation. It's not good faith negotiation if you're sitting across the table from me and you're offering to pay me, I'll pick a number, $30 million, but you don't have $30 million. That's not good faith negotiation. So courts have said, in order to have good faith negotiation and a condemnation, the entity, the city, Asbury Park, must have the $30 million example in its pocket, either by way of an appropriation or by way of a bond ordinance. And that means you go into the process having the funds, but you have to appropriate the funds in one of those manners, and that has an impact on real estate taxes right away, even before you own the property. So, let's say you complete the good faith negotiation, you complete the negotiations and you think they're in good faith, then only then are you allowed to file the complaint in condemnation. And at that time, there is a process whereby in my example, I'm using 30 million, is deposited into the Superior Court of New Jersey. And at that moment that deposit is made, the city can take ownership of the property. The money's in court, and then the law also provides that the property owner can apply to the court to take that money out while the debate goes on about the final valuation number. Because the fact that the city says it's worth 30 million doesn't mean that's going to be the final answer. And you may not get the final answer for a number of years. You have litigation in that process, unless the parties agree. And I've just finished a condemnation action where the parties did not agree and gone through the whole process. It's very expensive to do. And so the biggest unknown is a very fearsome one for a condemning party, because you will not know how much the property is worth until you go through the process with the condemnation commissioners. These are 3 people appointed by the court to hear the testimony in the case and make a judgment about what they think the property is worth. They might think it's worth 20 million. They might think it's worth 40 million. Then you have to pay 40 million. Or you can, the city or the other party can appeal, and the appeal goes to a jury, and you don't know what to expect for the jury trial. But all those steps cost money. The other consequence is that once the city takes title, then it steps in the shoes of the owner of the property and has the responsibilities to ensure, to secure safety, repair, maintain, and also the taxes that are paid, that have been paid, are gone during that period of time. So these are the realities of condemnation. It sounds very appealing to say, let's condemn the property and take it back, because public bodies do have that power. But it is very controlled power, because, as I said, we have a very strong adherence to property rights in our country and in our Constitution. So the property owner must be paid the fair market value of the property, which is only determined after you go through all of this process. It might take several years to know what that amount is. So then if at the end of the jury trial, the award is 20 million, the city's happy because we said it's worth 30. If the award is 50 million, the city's got to adopt another bond ordinance, because you've gotten the property, you've taken the property, you have to pay that money. And so this is the stark reality of condemnation. Now I'm going to turn to another alternative, which is litigation. And I'm focused on the conventional complex for this slide, but it applies to any of these properties or any property that is in the default. So the realities of litigation are that once you file a complaint, that's just the beginning. That's not the end. That doesn't mean that the relief you asked for in the complaint is awarded immediately. And we have an example of that in the Politan situation, where the city did sue in 2010 and went to court. The court said, no, you have to go to arbitration. The city was seeking termination, and the arbitrator said, you can't terminate. So when you undertake litigation in any case, there are multiple steps that take place before you have the final judgment. And any lawyers in the room know the first thing that happens is there's motions. So there may be a whole series of motions, there may be interlocutory appeals. There certainly will be discovery. And discovery is the process of each party finding out what the real truth is before you get into the courtroom. It's not like the old days where you see on TV, you walk into the courtroom and there's a surprise witness. You can't have that in our modern system of the judiciary. So, what does discovery involve? It involves interrogatories, written questions and answers that are very detailed and burdensome to answer. It involves document discovery. So in this case, there's thousands and thousands of documents that go back a very long time. This process is one that consumes a lot of staff effort in just responding to discovery requests. And the other aspect of discovery are depositions. And an aggressive defendant will try to depose everybody they can think of. Maybe some of you in this room, I don't know. But they will leave no stone unturned. And if you have on the other side of the table a deep-pocketed defendant, which you happen to have here in Madison Marquette, you have the tendency, I don't know if this would happen, of that defendant just trying to wear out the other party to the point where it's too expensive to continue. And so all of that is part of the process in litigation, and while the litigation is going on, in our situation, Madison Asbury Retail still owns the properties. They're still deteriorating. It doesn't give you an instant gratification to sue. I wish it did. I am in the business of litigation. I can speak from experience about what happens when you're in litigation with a deep-pocketed party. I have been defending, our firm has been defending a case involving tens of millions of dollars at stake, tens of millions. The complaint was filed in January 2010. We have had multiple discovery activities of the type I described. We've had multiple motions. We've had multiple trials. We've been to the appellate division, where we won in the appellate division. It has been appealed to the New Jersey Supreme Court. As I stand here today, I'm still waiting for the date of oral argument in the New Jersey Supreme Court in a case that started in...
In all due respect, can you please tell us where we stand as a city and with the casino? We don't want to lord. We want to know what we're going to do.
I've heard people say it's a waste of time. It's not a waste of time, because you need to know the foundational principles so you can make an intelligent decision about what you want the city to do. It's easy. So, I have more on litigation. For some reason, I don't know what it is, the font is smaller. In litigation, the city would be the plaintiff and bear the burden of proof. That means we have to prove by a preponderance of the evidence that our case is valid. We have to prove a breach of the obligation to repair, operate, maintain, subject to commercial reasonability. Remember that qualifier. we have to, it's not a legal cost here, it's also a cost for multiple experts to come in with respect to proving the condition of the complex, and also addressing, it's a different expert to address the commercial reasonability of what needs to be done. I mention that because that all costs money, and the city bears that cost. The taxpayers of the city would bear that cost as it goes on. And as I mentioned in my example, the case I'm involved in, that case has been going on for 16 years. Now, when you, as I said, when you have a deep-pocketed adversary, they can try to wear you out. So be aware of that before judgment is made about what the next step is. Now, I'm going to turn to a different topic, which is a more positive topic. Some of the comments I've been reading is about the $20 million grant that the city got. That went to the city, not to Asbury Retail. And that was under a program from the American Rescue Funds that was adopted by the legislature of New Jersey, that authorized $100 million of those funds to be used for the preservation boardwalks. Asbury and many other communities which had boardwalks applied for that funding. Asbury sought 40 plus and got 20, and that number was the highest of any applicant. I believe it was Asbury and Atlantic City that each received 20,000, and then it dribbled down from there. So what's that money for? Part of that money, $7 million of that money, went for the purpose of the city to repair the boardwalk, lighting, benches, I don't recall all the details, and construct 2 bathrooms on the boardwalk, and they are under construction now. That left $13 million for the purpose of repairing, to some extent, the Paramount Theater. The application, as I mentioned, was over $40 million. There was a lot more ambitious program that was outlined for the Paramount Theater, but it whittled down to $13 million. And so here's what's going on with that $13 million. The first $1.3 million of that was identified in what we call a sub-grant agreement between the city and MAR to do an investigation of the structural condition of Paramount Theater and find out what needs to be done to make it secure structurally, and also identify what needs to be done to make it waterproof. That work has concluded. Now we're ready for phase 2 on Paramount Theater, which is to utilize the $11.7 million, which must be spent by December 31st of this year, to do the work that has been identified in that investigative stage. That phase 2 agreement, we hope, will be ready for a vote at the meeting next week. And if that happens, we had a meeting yesterday with the mayor, the deputy mayor, business administrator, the city's engineers, Joanna, myself, and representatives of MAR and March Construction, which is the company that they have engaged to do the actual construction. They have engaged Michael Graves' company to do the work on the historic aspects of it. Michael Graves is an internationally known firm. And we were told yesterday, if all this goes well, I'm not promising this because I haven't seen the paperwork yet. We're supposed to get it on Friday, so we can get the documents ready for a vote on Wednesday. But if that happens, it's been said that construction could begin in March, by March, construction. So that is where things stand with that fund. And by the way, this is not money that has been given directly by the state to MAR. There's an agreement between the Department of Community Affairs and the city that controls how this is to be dealt with. It's very strictly controlled. And as regards the agreement between the city and MAR, they don't get paid unless they've done the individual work that will be set forth on what's called a schedule of values. And they don't get paid until they prove to the CFO that any requisition they're asking for has already been paid to, in this case, March. So MAR has to put that money out first, and then, only then, will the city pay for that. There will be an inspection by T&M, the city's engineers, to make sure that the work that they say they're going to do on that schedule of values has been done as is set forth in that voucher that they submit. So that money is not in MAR's hands, it's in the hands of the city. There will be questions later, I hear them. And I'm happy to answer any questions that come later. Now, I'm going to talk about the pending applications by MAR before the Economic Development Authority. There's two types. One is historic preservation application for $8 million. Doesn't do much because MAR has said it's going to be over $100 million to do what they plan to do with conventional Paramount Theater and the Grand Arcade. But there is an application for $75 million in tax credits under what's called the CAFE program, the Cultural Arts Facilities Expansion Program, a new program. There are some recipients of tax credits from that. The Mayo Theater in Morristown, some may know of that, they received multi-million dollars from that. And the Science Center in Jersey City, also a big recipient. So the money's going out from that program. And it will, if that happens, and we don't know if it will, if that happens, it will provide the nearest opportunity, by far, the nearest opportunity for those buildings to be rescued from the deterioration that's going through. The other alternatives I've laid out would take time and would be of uncertain outcome and would be expensive. This option is the clearest and most present opportunity for those facilities to be refurbished. And that is pending before the Economic Development Authority, as I mentioned. We want to see that happen, because if that happens, it infuses funding into that program. Now, it's not a total free process for the recipient. 10% of the project cost, not 10% of the tax credits, 10% of the project cost has to be put up as equity by the owner in order to qualify. There are many conditions that will take time to play out. There has to be an agreement between EDA and the recipient. There is a requirement that the agreements provide public access on certain times and hours for public. There is a process also where the tax credits are not money, they're credits that are sold to people who need to pay taxes, and they buy those credits. The example is, if you owe $10 in taxes, you find somebody who has these credits, and you pay them maybe 85 cents on the dollar. So it will not produce catch in the amount of the credits that are provided, there's some loss of the cost of doing that. So there are many steps. It will not immediately provide boots on the ground and the repair of those facilities, but it will set in motion, if that happens, the process for that to be the outcome. Now, the next part of our presentation is to talk about some frequently asked questions. I know you can't read this, so we are going to take turns explaining what these say.
So I'll just go through some of these with you, and you're going to have your own opportunity to speak, obviously. But these are some frequently asked questions, things that maybe you're too shy to ask or maybe not. But these are the things that we've heard about the most. So let's start with the most popular one. Can the city take back title to Convention Hall or the casino or any of the other properties if there's a default? The answer to that is no, because as you heard Joe say, that was a remedy in the 2002 agreement, but the 2002 agreement was essentially replaced by the 2010 agreement, which set out its own remedies, which do not include taking back or anything of that sort. Does the expiration of the redevelopment plan mean that the agreements with Asbury Partners and MA Retail also expire? No. The redevelopment plan can expire, but the redevelopment agreements are agreements between parties and they are binding outside of the efficacy of the redevelopment plan or not. So if the redevelopment plan expires, the city can adopt a new plan if they want to, but the agreements are still around and they're as binding as they were before. Oh, Joe, I don't know how to use this thing, so. So the next one, does MAR pay real estate taxes to Asbury Park? Yes, they pay conventional taxes, and the last time we asked, this is the number that was being collected by the city, almost $1 million amongst all of those boardwalk buildings that we talked about. If the city wins in a litigation, if the city starts a litigation and the city wins in the litigation, does the city get their legal fees back? No. That, in New Jersey, we follow the American rule of litigation, which is every party pays for themselves, nobody gets any money back. There's very few types of cases that allow for fee shifting. This would not be one of them. So I'm going to go back to Joe.
So the next one is, do payments in lieu of taxes take money out of kids' pockets for developers? No, we're not getting into pilots tonight. There's been a pilot demonstration, there may be another one, but just to deal with that, no. The school budgets, if approved, by whatever the mechanism is, by whether it's approved by a vote or whatever, is fully funded by the taxpayers. Then the other one is, we already dealt with that one.
Except for school taxes.
Oh, I'm going the wrong way. This one is, I touched on this earlier. Do city taxpayers pay for the infrastructure in the waterfront redevelopment area? No, as I said before, the sidewalks, the curbs, the drainage, the storms, all of that is paid for through the special assessment process, and it is part of the bill that's paid by the new condo owners. If the properties are demolished or fall into collapse, is MAR entitled to build residential or commercial properties on those sites? No. I think some people have been saying, oh, they want them to go down so they can build high rises on those sites. They cannot. And that is certainly true because that easement with conventional hall property, that's in perpetuity. But with respect to the other sites, It's controlled by the redevelopment plan and the CAFRA permit, which do not permit those types of uses on those properties. I think we are done. Is there one more? Yeah, timelines. Are there specific timelines or schedules that govern MAR's performance in the 2010 agreement? No. No, they're not. There's no timelines or schedules. They were included in the dispute resolution agreement that I spoke about earlier, and that dispute resolution agreement was expressly terminated by the terms of the 2010 agreement with MAR. So that option of using the schedules is not, they're not explicit schedules. Lawyers always argue that there are reasonable schedules implied, but it's a heavier lift. And I think that finishes the slide. And thank you for your attention. I really appreciate it.
We are now at the public participation. May I have a motion to open the meeting to the public? All in favor? Public participation portion of the meeting is now open. Any member of the public who wishes to speak, please use the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and there will be a 3-minute time limit for each speaker.
Can you wait until he puts the mic on? Go ahead.
Raise this up for a call guy. All right, that'll work.
Can everybody hear me in the hall?
Yes, hold on 1 second, sir. Just as I said at the beginning, when the 3-minute expires, feel free to finish your sentence.
All right, thank you.
you.
Hello, my name is Charles Latta. I reside at 35 Charles Court, Ocean, New Jersey. I am the treasurer and founding officer of Save Asbury Parks History, a New Jersey profit organization. Henry Beccaro, Bruce Belfer, and I created a nonprofit out of frustration 4 years ago when the Paramount Theater and Convention Hall were closed to the public. We tried to get some traction and the place went dormant. Now I have to throw away my prepared speech because our attorney was very helpful in helping us understand the mess we're in. And my first comment is, I have extensive experience as a CPA, an auditor, a controller, and a CFO. I've been through the condemnation court twice in my history, as well as in commercial litigation. So I feel I'm fairly authorized to speak on these opinions, and they are opinions. And the other thing I want to say is we don't want to fight the city. Everybody here wants to save the buildings. We're not fighting. Okay? It's too late to do anything about it, but do we have recourse to sue the living daylights out of the attorney who advised the council and mayor to sign the 2010 agreement? Who are they? We should sue the hell out of them. They destroyed our opportunity to get relief under the U.S. Constitution. And I don't know what to say. I'm flabbergasted when I heard that we gave away all of our rights because we felt these people from Europe, who were billionaires, were going to be good stewards of our history. Now, these are all off the cuff, so I apologize if I'm a little emotional. All right. Now, what I'd like to say is, in a 30-second review, I agree. If we go into litigation with these people, we can discuss it further, but it looks like a path to nowhere. The most logical path to success, in my opinion, is condemnation. And here's what I would like to announce to the crowd. All right. I gotta find the right page. Okay, I'm happy to announce an anonymous donor has contacted me and pledged to fund $100,000 to the city from our nonprofit if we can vote to move this process forward to save these buildings. And if it's decided it's for condemnation, it'll go to the lawyer fees for condemnation. In addition, this benevolent, anonymous individual will match another $100,000 if this group can feel within themselves to start donating to Save Asbury Park's history. We're going to hand the city $300,000 to start the condemnation. Now, respectfully, Mr. Attorney, I know a lot about commercial real estate appraisals. I was in the land development and home building business for 11 years, including commercial buildings. The smart thing to do is for you as an attorney to order an appraisal. Under attorney-client privilege, if the number is too high, it disappears, and you find a friendly appraiser to get a reasonable appraisal. Do you agree?
Okay, Mr. Landry, the time is up.
All right, I have to finish this by saying that the only thing else I have to add is that I think his appraisal number will be lower because the rents are low, and I don't think that building will appraise for $20 million because of the low rents. Thank you. Thank you. Did you give me the $300,000, we want to work with you. Thank you.
Good evening. Yeah, my name is Henry McCarroll. I was part of the original development, and am I pissed? You're damn right I am. When I hear this shit tonight on how these documents were changed, it's somebody belongs in jail.
Henry, somebody say, people in the back are saying, don't take, stop it.
What's
People in
that?
the back are saying they can't hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me start off. I was part of the original development when it was formed in 1984. I bought the Berkeley Carteret Hotel for $300,000. They were going to tear it down. And guess what? I restored it, public-private funding, and I put a bond up to guarantee it would be done. As far as these changes, somebody belongs in jail.
Yes.
The original agreement had the city always owned the Convention Hall, Paramount Theater, and the other buildings. Another thing, I built the Sunset Avenue Pavilion. When I built it in 1963, we had a 20-year bonded roof, which meant the roof was good for 20 years. 60 years later, they just put a damn roof on that building, and you wonder why the damn things are falling apart. We have to do something to get rid of Madison Marquette, and we'll raise the damn money to do it. That's all I can tell you. We formed this nonprofit, and the board members are Ernie Anastas, the anchor man on the news in New York, Carter Sackman, myself, Bruce Belford, Chuck Latta, Beth Stavola, and Philip Michaels of the Michaels family, who owns a hedge fund. We have the wherewithal to do this, and we want to do it. We want your help. We don't want to be against you. We want to work with you. That's all I got to say.
Dan Shonamayo, 615.
Hold on. Thank you, Henry. Go ahead.
Dan Shonamayo, 615 Asbury Avenue. I want to thank the council for having this meeting, and you guys have been good stewards, and you have handled a mess. Over 20 years ago, I railed against this agreement, this project. Al Fiella and the prior councils sold us down a river. I don't speak lightly about condemnation. I've been doing eminent domain in New York City for 40 years. 42nd Street redevelopment project I was involved in, Hudson Yards, Atlantic Yards, Metro Tech, the rebuilding of the World Trade Center. I said the original Asbury Partners, the Fishmans, were a bunch of thieves. They were no good. They got out. What I said even decades ago when this agreement was signed, and this is the problem we're facing now, and I can't believe Madison Marquette were fools enough to believe the Fishmans. The retail could never make it alone. It could not pay to redo these buildings. The whole quid pro quo from the agreement from the beginning was you got the money from selling the condo land, and that went to fix the buildings. Madison Marquette, you know, I stopped in 2007, 2008 when Madison Marquette came in and they put the roof on the Carousel building and stuff like that. But I mean, how long do we have to be abused by them? So I'm not saying rush into condemnation, but I'm telling you, Council, you have to get rid of Madison Marquette. They will never do it. And I'm telling you, I pushed Terry Reedy, even though it didn't work out great, the arbitration, I pushed him to litigate. You know, I said to him, A gun is like a ham sandwich if the other side knows you're never gonna pull the trigger. You are the 800-pound gorilla in the room, is the city. You need to come down on iStar. I know iStar can't even control its partner, Madison Marquette. There is much that you can do to make it very uncomfortable for Madison Marquette and Asbury Park. And we want to have every level as you can. But if we're going to sit here and be afraid of litigation, again, what I said, a gun is as good as a ham sandwich if you're not going to pull the trigger. But thank you, City Council.
Thank you. This is Tom.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
I would like to thank you. You didn't thank me.
That's right, that's right.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Tom, thank you so much for your time. This question is really directed
Please
towards
have
you.
your name and address, please, sir.
I will in a second. My name is Isaac Friedel. I'm the founder of the Jersey Shore Dream Center, also a member of the Run-A-Palooza Committee. And our Dream Center, we do a lot of outreach work in Asbury Park, help a lot of the children, a lot of the displaced youth here in the Asbury Park High School. And we are the beneficiary for the Run-A-Palooza, which is taking place on April 11th. And this race, it brings in so much business to the town. There's over 4,000 runners that participate in it. The race has been going on for over 25 years. And without this race, it would really jeopardize a lot of the work that the Dream Center is doing. And to see that the casino has now been shut down, that is the route that we run directly through. And my direct question is on April 11th, number one, is it going to be open by then? And if not, secondly, would it be able to be open specifically for that race that does so much for the city of Asbury Park, so much for the children, so much for the high school here, and the work that our Dream Center does?
Let me answer that. We can't tell you when it's going to be done, but we do have an alternate route that may be great for your, Mr. Booth, okay, you can disagree. We're working on an alternate route that other people have used very successfully, so you don't have to cancel it altogether. We'll do our best to work together with you in case it's not done, that you have a plan B.
Well, the problem, the alternate route is to go over
No, wait. If he's done, then state your name and your address and you go next.
Yeah, my name is Bob Both, and I'm the member of the Jersey Shore Running Club, and I'm the race director for Run-A-Palooza, we just talked about. And as Isaac indicated, we could use an alternate route. We've been actually looking at alternate routes. The problem is, if the alternate route goes over the footbridge from over Wesley Lake into Ocean Grove, that path is very narrow. And we have 4,000 runners. They're coming from 20 different states and several countries, and they're all expecting that course to be, the course must be, it's a New Jersey State Championship race, and that course must be measured and certified and approved, and that takes time. So we need to know as soon as possible when, if that route is not going to be available, so we can have an alternate, and we have to start measuring now. We can't do it in 10 minutes. It takes a couple weeks to measure it and then get the approvals. So we need to know. So that's all I have to say. I mean, if you have an alternate route that we could use, I'd love to hear that alternate route.
Okay, call Alicia Floyd tomorrow. She'll give it to you. You talk to Joe Fiore, who you've worked with before. He'll explain it to you. Other people, we're not saying use the footbridges into Ocean Grove. An alternate route just in Asbury Park, like 2 other people have used this past winter. So there is another route out there that we're working on. So,
but remember, we're a half marathon, 13.1 miles.
We
and
make the call. Make the call tomorrow. We can start working on it.
will.
Okay. And we appreciate everything the Jersey Shore Running Club has done.
Hello, Council. My name is Cerise. I live in Howell, New Jersey right now, 1508 Salerno Way. I am looking to buy and or rent in Asbury Park. If anybody's renting, hi, I need somewhere to live so that I can vote here. So good evening. Thank you so much for planning and executing this informational session in response to our concerns. thank you to the attorneys as well for the redevelopment plan. You did an excellent job, really excellent job. Thank you for explaining all of that. It had to be a lot of work. Originally, I had planned to compile a list of unfortunate missteps by the municipal council, previous municipal councils, including a tally of votes and/or redevelopment plan and other plan changes which benefit key developers in town and not the city. Instead, I'd like to be a voice to encourage this council to act in a way that no other council before you has acted. Asbury Park can be the absolute best version of itself it can be in a very long time. I know about being the best version of myself. I know Asbury Park's going to be the best version of itself with your leadership and with our help if we can all work together and put our differences aside. I would like you to be aggressive, be strategic, enlist help from allies, artists, residents, whom you represent. We need you as much as you need our votes. And let us be more than just button-pushing balloters. We're on your team, and you're on our team. You'll never hear people like us out here in the audience say that this is impossible. We're visionaries, we're dreamers. We hope that you can see what we see for the ocean, for the waterfront, and for our skyline. Please don't let Madison Marquette or any other developer in the future steal that from us. Please continue to be strong for us. Continue to look out for the city. We need you, this city, and Convention Hall, the casino, the Carousel House, and the steam plant are our identity. Buildings, historical buildings like this are the identity of the city. Our spirit lives in those buildings, and we need you to carry that spirit on. So thank you very much for listening, and thank you for allowing me to explain what I believe the blueprint of our community looks like. I've lived here for over 20 years. I was pushed out because I was priced out, but I'm on my way back, and I can't wait to stay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Thomas DeSetto. My law office is on Route 66 in Neptune. I'd like to make a motion to increase my time by 2 minutes. Motion to increase my time by 2 minutes. It never works. I've been trying for 20 years. In any event, I'm here to tell you that contrary to what was asserted on these screens, the 2010 agreement, I'm talking about just the casino, the 2010 agreement does not apply to the casino. What you didn't see up on that screen, but you can see up on my website, DeSettoLaw.com, go to the blog, I wrote 3 recent articles about this. What you didn't see up there was section 4, the operative section that says what buildings are governed by this contract in 2010. It lists the pavilions, 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, Sunset. It lists Convention Hall. It lists the Paramount Theater. It does not list the casino. It is not covered in the 2010 agreement. More proof, go down to the construction section. Also in section 4, just later, lists dates for each project. No dates for the casino because it's not in there. The default section says specifically it only applies to the buildings referenced in section, I'll give it to you, 4A2. That's the buildings I read. Casino's not in the 2010 agreement. And I agree with Mr. Mariziti on the part that he did show that said this only governs Madison Marquette, or MAR, to the extent that it differs from 2002, or that there's a conflict with 2002. That's exactly right. There's no conflict with the 2002 agreement on the casino because it's not in the 2010 agreement. You have to go back to the 2002 agreement for that default provision, which says you can start litigation, not condemnation, a contract action, to declare them in default and take that building back. And anybody who wants to call me on I will give you more than 3 minutes to talk to me, I promise you, because this has been going on for 45 years and you deserve it. Also, on my website, absolutely absolutely have we entered into pilot agreements that take money from the schools and give it to the developers. I give go to and you can see, go to the blog section, and I give that whole detail. I want to remind everybody too, because this has been going on for so long, these contracts were front-loaded for the developers. They got all their benefits up front. The redevelopment rights, the buildings are practically nothing. We let them eminent domain our neighbors. Ask Eliopolis, ask Karpinski, ask George Carey. We let them take their homes. We then, when it came time for them to do their infrastructure, they said no, and we let them take the school money. All we were supposed to get in return was these two big buildings fixed, and they refused to do it. So I'm going to ask you, please take a look at what I wrote on there. We definitely can take the casino back, and I pray that 3 to 5 of you, which is all it takes, votes to do that. Thank you.
My name is Bruce Belfer. I'm at 900 4th Avenue, Asbury Park. My name is Bruce Belfer. And I'm at 900 4th Avenue, Asbury Park. I'm here because I love Asbury Park. I think everybody else is here because they love Asbury Park. Is Madison Marquette here? I don't see him. I would like to thank the council and the mayor and the attorneys for this presentation. It's exactly what you needed to do. People of Asbury Park need to understand what's going on. And as Tommy DeSeno just said, it's been going on for far too long. Many of you may know me from bouncing and security work I've done in town, but I have a day job, and my day job is I'm a mechanical engineer. You should try talking to this microphone. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I work on a lot of old buildings. One of the old buildings that I just worked on was the Grand Central Station in New York City. Grand Central Station was designed by the exact same architects that designed the casino, the convention hall building. And we're in the middle of another round on Grand Central Station. I want to draw attention to one thing in particular, and that is that back around 2011, the copper panels were removed from the side of the convention hall, ostensibly or purportedly for the purpose of an inspection. They were then put in a pavilion building where they were reported as stolen sometime later, months later. I was at the Stephen Crane building when that whole issue was discussed. And as much as I was hoping that Madison Marquette would get these jobs done, when they did not rust-proof the interior of the building and recover the sides of the building where those copper panels were, it made me question their motives. Why are the sides of the building still open to the elements? Why has it been left that way for over a dozen years now? And when it comes to the discussion of, what was it, the standard was commercially reasonable, and the burden of proof was on Asbury Park. The burden of proof was just plastered to the side of the casino, a little red tag that said demolition. There's your proof. Right there, that's their intent. Number one. And number two, when a client has deep pockets and refuses to do what's necessary, what is to stop us from doing what is necessary and sending Mr. Deep Pockets a bill? And then if they don't pay the bill, then you take them to court for not paying the bill.
Yeah.
Why not? What have we got to lose? This stuff, if we don't act, these buildings are going to come down and they'll be gone forever. They're the jewel of the Jersey Shore. Can't be let go. Can't be let go.
Howdy. My name is Seth Hooper. I live at 314 Parkview Avenue, Ocean, New Jersey. I've got 4 things I'd like to get out there. First and foremost, thank you very much for the presentation, Mr. Marzetti. Very illuminating. I want to talk about things other than, I want to talk about dereliction, things falling apart, so on and so forth. Two things come to mind when I hear that. First and foremost, code violations. If we're watching things fall apart before our eyes, and there's now a 16-year history of this from 2010 to the present, where are the code violations? In addition to that, where are the safety violations? Because these are historic buildings. You can't simultaneously have a demolition order and then say that it's in good condition. That to me just, I can't intellectually come to terms with that. Secondly, in addition to living here in Asbury, my girlfriend and I also live up north in Hoboken. And I'm very happy to say that Hoboken was able to, through eminent domain, as I'm sure you know, Mr. Rossetti, take control of the waterfront from New York Waterway.
We're working on it
Right. That is a success story. That is something that we can look to as something that we could steal ourselves with. Third thing, when we look at New Jersey and where things are, we've got a lot of buildings that are going up, but what is the long-term plan? Atlantic City had a lot of buildings happen, had a lot of casinos that went up, and that is the main draw there. But their infrastructure is not in as good a condition as ours is, and if we don't steel ourselves with the historical nature of this community and really invest in making that our future, then we're doomed to a similar fate as Atlantic City. Finally, we're citizens. I'm 100% disabled veteran, and that means a lot to me, that we are citizens. And we can come together and hold others to account. And by that, I mean hold them account to being in compliance with the code, hold them to account for being in compliance with what's required for safety. And we can do this if we mobilize and utilize the resources that exist in this community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chris Olith. I live at 306 Steel Lake Drive, and I'm very impressed by people who can speak extemporaneously without notes. Ergo, I'm going to read what I wrote for this meeting. I really appreciate the meeting tonight and was really coming here to urge you all to prioritize transparency in our town's development processes, not as a procedural formality, but as a foundational principle of good governance. Development decisions shape the physical character of our town and determine how residents experience our neighborhoods for generations. These decisions matter deeply to people, and people deserve to understand them. Meaningful transparency means providing clear timelines, accessible documentation, and early notice of proposed developments and changes. It means explaining not just what is being decided, but why. It means creating opportunities for dialogue like this tonight, before plans are finalized, not after decisions are made or feel inevitable. Our town is strongest when residents feel and are informed, respected, and included. By committing to transparency and openness, you demonstrate confidence in your decisions and respect for the people you serve. I applaud the hosting of this session tonight and urge you to continuing strengthening communication practices so that growth in our community reflects both sound planning and shared understanding. After hearing the wonderful presentation tonight, I'm wondering if you could continue to provide such transparency by providing a specific timeline for the short-term and immediate repairs of the casino building and the reopening of our boardwalk. Also, we would love to see an additional page on the city's website that would include all archived and currently publicly available information on this issue, and really to encourage the residents to continue to work with you. After the demolition permit was filed a few weeks ago, I began working with a small but mighty committee of area residents, and we formed a group called Save Our Structures Asbury Park, or SOSAP for short. We invite everyone here to please visit our website, sos-ap.org, for updates. We must organize to create a sustained movement for the historic preservation and respectful adaptive repurposing of our historic structures. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council members, put your phones down. Put your phones down. People that get off work and come here and talk to you, put your phones away.
Trying to take notes.
Okay, then.
Questions, and then if anyone wants pizza, then there's something there. No, I'm trying to forget.
Kristen O'Meara, Clifton Avenue, Ocean Grove. Okay. Good evening. Thank you to the council for calling this meeting. We needed these facts. Thank you for the presentation. It was very enlightening, if depressing. Thanks to everybody who came out tonight too. We all love Asbury. And as Chris just said, a group of local residents has formed Save Our Structures Asbury Park, SOS-AP.org, because we believe these buildings and the community deserve better. Come see one of us after the meeting and we'll connect you with resources and keep you up to date on our next steps. Even before I moved here, one of my greatest pleasures was walking or biking the boardwalk to Asbury. Imagining the day I'd live close enough to have that boardwalk as my front porch. Walking through the casino always felt magical. That deep cool on a hot summer day feels like you've stepped into another world. Now at the casino, all I see are fences, do not enter signs, red stickers, and lack of repair. I can't count on bumping into my neighbors anymore, which is exactly why people move to walkable cities. As one of the gentlemen said earlier, we need access. And instead of access, we have empty promises from Madison Marquette and a Berlin Wall of cheap fencing between us. We need the boardwalk open. Weeks ago, Madison Marquette posted from the Asbury Park Boardwalk account a name that sounds like the city's own friendly voice, and many people trusted it when it said repairs were coming and the path would reopen. Has anybody seen the path reopen yet? No. Hell no. But I walk there almost every day. Nothing has happened, no work. I still see red stickers everywhere and a red dumpster. Madison Marquette has betrayed us, and we need a solution that involves a builder who can do the job right. To borrow from the Wizard of Oz, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Madison is selling a sedative that was meant to lull people back to sleep while the casino continues to disintegrate. Asbury Park is a boom town now. People want to be here. We should not be held hostage by questionable decisions made 20 years ago while our historic buildings crumble on our watch. The condition of these contracts are complex and daunting, but that doesn't mean we should roll over and die. We need development that respects our past and our future. We commit to working with you and making life very uncomfortable for Madison Marquette. They need to go.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, Annette, 403 2nd Avenue. Thanks so much for this meeting tonight. Better? Okay. Goodness. This may not be COVID, but I'm still not using the mic. Thank you so much for having the meeting, the presentation as well. I was late, so what I was going to talk about I will not mention because I missed the first bit and you probably covered it, or in fear that you did. I will say, in a week, you're supposed to be approving an agreement to start the work on the Paramount. And that's going to be paid in arrears for work done. We've got 10 months to get that done, just under $12 million to do it. That's an incredibly tight timeline, not knowing the details. I mean, do they have materials stockpiled? Do they have labor lined up? Is there a project manager or someone responsible from the city who is overseeing that? At least an accountant who's going to be taking stuff in, because they're going to have to front a great deal of money to hire people, to get materials. You know, it's just not that easy. We only have 10 months to get that done. You know, $1.2 million a month, it's a reasonable burn rate. I mean, I'm happy to go shopping, but I don't think that's what we want done with the money. So I just hope someone's on top of that, and that it's not just an approval, and then we have to go into contract negotiations. Thank you. Oh, and if we could hire some locals as part of that, that would be really great.
Hold on 1 second. So I think the last part was hire locals.
If we can have that as part of it, that'd be great.
It's got to be a PLA. Yes, it is a PLA, project labor agreement. It is. And as far as you're right, it is a tight time frame, and that's what scares the heck out of us. That's why we've been having bi-weekly meetings with them, which haven't been that productive until yesterday. And the good thing about it is, you're right, they have to front the money. So if they front the money, and we don't reimburse them because it's something, Madison Marquette just lost the money. We're not going to give them any money until we have to. And that means they did the work, and the work is completed.
Which is great, and I'm glad that the town took control of the grant and that Madison didn't, you know, get it themselves. However, it does mean the work might not get done, right? If it needs to be done by the end of the year for us to receive that money and disperse that money, they don't really have that much to lose unless there's penalty clauses in the contract itself.
Well, if they pay March construction to do work and it doesn't come in within the time frame, we're not paying them, so Madison Marquette loses the money.
No, that's fair. What if they don't bother doing it?
Then we won't let it go that far. We'll send the money back to the state of New Jersey and make them look even dumber.
Okay, but then if the Paramount's done, not done rather, it falls down, whatever, right? So I'm just saying, I hope we have people on our side who will be on top of that.
We are.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. Good evening, everyone. My name is Spencer Pellis. I'm at 1018 Fifth Avenue. I want to give a huge thank you to everyone in Asbury Park that came out tonight. There was a protest organized 2 weeks ago that I attended. It was a negative 8-degree wind chill, and people were out there. I want to ask where any of them were for that protest, because it's one thing to be a talking head on a desk and everything, but it's another thing to be boots on the ground, showing up to our events. It was a peaceful protest where we shared stories, and frankly, it was a really heartwarming moment. I didn't want to wake up hungover on a Saturday and go to a protest in sub-degree weather. You know, you had this wonderful presentation, and we keep dilly-dallying over the main issue that you did a wonderful job showcasing that billionaire oligarchs can do whatever the hell they want as long as they can just ride out the processes. Ooh, they're not going to get the money that we're going to give them. Yeah, they're really hurting over in France right now. I'm really, I hope they can afford Christmas. Why should we have faith in any of you that any of this is going to play out? It's been decades of the same crap over and over again. And thank you everyone that spoke before me. I was way madder before I came up here. You all have level heads, and I appreciate your words. Back to you all though. Why should we think that you're going to actually do anything? The floor is yours.
Is that all your questions? Because
yes.
I've got to turn off the time.
That's okay.
You're sure? Yeah. We're proceeding forward with information like this, taking it all in. Some offers have been made. We're going to study some of the offers. We're not agreeing with everything that's being said tonight, where we may ask for something down the road. And you got 5 people up here that probably been in Asbury Park. I know I've been in Asbury Park, not as long as Henry, but a long ass time. My great grandfather moved here in 1888. I worked for the city. You're right. Everybody in this room loves Asbury Park. Trust us, we're going to do the best that we can do. We got the city's interest at heart. But again, just to openly say, we're gonna sue you. Me personally, this is my personal opinion. And I asked the lawyer if we could do this. I said, can we do a referendum and let the taxpayers, the homeowners, the people that live in Asbury Park, not the people from Howe, Rumson, whatever, decide? Because if we take this case and we lose, this could put the town in bankruptcy. And that's something I don't know if I could morally vote on. Because when Dan convinced Terry Reedy to sue him in 2010, and it was like, we got him by the balls. We're going to win this case. And the city got their ass kicked. And what happened? They spent hundreds, if not millions of dollars on the lawsuit. And then we got the 2011 Politan agreement where it said work together. And I was at those meetings with Dan in...
But John, you got...
No, there's no cross conversations.
But you got a lot of those
There's no cross conversations, Dan.
You saved a lot of properties.
There's no cross conversations, Dan. Right, and the George Carey house was not condemned by eminent domain. So, again, it's just tough for me to say, hey, we may take this law case and we may lose, and that could put a lot of people in worse shape than they are now. But the lawyer said, we're not like a board of education, the quickest we could have a referendum is November, and that's way too long to figure this out. So all options are on the table, and I hear you loud and clear. I mean, again, I morally right now could not vote to sue them knowing like if we lose, we're going to maybe put the city in bankruptcy. If we lose. And that's a big if.
Give him hell, Mayor.
Thank you.
Don't start it yet, because I want to talk to Tommy, who's also been in town for many, many years. And Tommy, everyone who's looked at his website has sent me this decision about how we can take back the casino. So I went through his analysis, the council talked to Joe, and we disagreed. We disagreed. We believe the casino is listed in the 2010 agreement under the paragraph Tommy's talking about. That being the case, knowing his analysis thinks that we can, we're going to have an independent retired judge adjudicator of some sort review Tommy's analysis, review the city's analysis to determine whether or not Tommy's analysis is right. The casino is not governed by the 2010 agreement. I want to be on the record, the city believes it is, but with all due respect, a guy who's been around a long time, a smart guy says that, you know what, I don't think it is. I think it's governed by the 2002 agreement. We will have an independent third party review it, okay?
Good evening, I'm Michaela Murray, 408 Asbury Avenue. I want to thank you, first of all. We've all been reading the, Facebook keyboard warriors who just graduated from Facebook law school and think they have this thing solved in the last 3 weeks. I appreciate laying out all the pros and cons. I understand that some of the options could be awesome, right, if we won. They could be very risky. They could take another decade. They could cost $10 million that we don't have. Or, people keep suggesting Bruce Springsteen could fall from the sky and fix the whole thing himself. But I'm a pragmatist, so it sounded like the best possible option right now, while we look at what Tommy had to say and review the options and keep all options on the table, is that this EDA funding at 75 mil would come through. So, as the very energized, passionate tax base of Asbury Park, who, if anyone, could we lean on to have that grant funding come through? Is it a matter of talking to Vin? Is it a matter of rallying to the governor's office? God knows we have enough political things to call all of our politicians about, this decade. But I also deeply, deeply love that building. I love what Jen is doing with it. I love this town, and I want to see it saved. So if there is someone that we could be rallying to see those funds granted, I think that the citizens of the town would like to know that and would certainly activate our collective voices. Also, I have said this to members of the council before, I will say it again, I'm a professional grant writer. I do pro bono work for various nonprofits in the town. I am not the only one here in town. We raise figure grants like it's having a cup of coffee. We could help match some of those funds. We could get out there. There's at least 12 of us in town I can think of offhand who would help do those pro bono grant applications without thinking twice about it. So activate us. We are your assets and we're here. And if it's a matter of harassing some politicians, like I work from home, I got time. So who's got
Okay, hold on. What are you doing tomorrow afternoon and Friday morning? No, I'm being dead serious. I mean, you're right. I want you to go to City Hall.
Okay. I can do Friday morning.
Talk to the city manager.
Okay.
And I love people volunteering to write grants.
Yeah.
You're hired.
I'm busy.
If you want to do it next Monday, whatever day works.
I can do it. I'm literally meeting with Father Chase tomorrow to finish Trinity's roof and repointing and windows and handicap access for the Code Blue shelter. So, but Friday morning, I can be yours.
Friday, hold on a second. I'm going to have a couple of meetings Friday morning.
Angela knows where.
How about Friday at 12?
Friday 12?
Friday at 12. Meanwhile, who can you call? Who can you talk to? The EDAs, it's their decision. Who does the EDA work for? The governor? Who does the governor have help work
What
for?
chance are they giving this money to a private owner?
Come on, guy, you don't have any time,
I
Mr.
know
Latta.
you gave me her, and the government's not giving this money to a private owner.
Mr.
How
Latta,
can
like,
he have his opinion?
This is like the fourth time you interrupted. It's the last time. It's the last time, Mr. Latta. We said that.
I'm gonna leave.
Good. Please do before we throw you out. I mean, so Friday, but who do you get into contact with? For District 11, East IN, Asbury Park, our elected representatives, and the governor's office.
Thank you.
See you Friday at noon.
Hello, my name is Felicia Simmons. I'm the president of WCC Historic Renovation Association, formerly known as the West Side Community Center, a historic building on the west side of town. I can be louder. Right, on the other side of town, but I've lived in this town, but the best side, right? I've lived in this town on all parts of the town my entire life. In fact, I used to go to the jump-off point, that's what we called it in our day, the other side of the casino, the Black Beach, right, my whole life. I walked through the casino, but I sit here and watch and listen, right? To mention what Amy just said, that she didn't agree with Tommy. Your own lawyer said earlier that the casino was not mentioned in his presentation inside of the 2010 agreement. I sit here and listen to all the things, being in these meetings for the last couple decades, being in almost similar one about the Beach Club a few years back when the first SOS came to be, right? And I'm sitting here appalled because I've talked to you, some of you, about 13 years about these certain things. And I'm on an edge of tears, sitting up here understanding that we blame it on Madison Marquette. It's a finger-pointing game. But the truth is, the people who are supposed to represent us have not represented us, right? We bow down to these developers when we had a chance to sit up there and hold them to a fire. When we sit up there, we have permits. They don't own the land. These are people's private homes, which we've taken to turn into parking lots so we can give to big developers to make million-dollar houses. And that is not fair. For y'all to sit up there and say, well, we might spend too much money. You just bonded for the firehouse. You bond for other kind of things. We give hundreds of thousands of dollars every year to the water treatment plant. We don't do anything for the people. The infrastructure's still not done. Hence, we were swimming and boating down these streets a couple years ago. So what are we really going to do? Right? I sat up there and listened and watched the plan saying, well, there's no negotiation. It was never written. Why haven't you written a plan? You know this was happening for over a decade. You've been sitting there, some of you, most of you, for over a decade. Right? We can't blame it on other people. It's when you get into the job, you take up the cross for everybody sitting here. And for me to sit up here, some people, this might be your first one. right? It might be your second or third, but me, I've been coming to this for decades, and I'm offended. I'm offended. You can do something, and then say that pilot programs don't steal from children, that is a flat out lie. When you come when the S2 is cutting by millions, and then the pilot program is not paying, but they're assessing the property for everybody in town, that is why you get double hit. You get triple hit. And you're assessing your property by the county every year to market rate. We're being screwed, and there's nobody defending us. Big time. And there's nobody defending us. It's not Madison Marquette. They don't have a responsibility to us. We're a toy to them. They're a billion-dollar industry. It is y'all. And we have to do something. Don't just sit there and talk about it. Actually do it.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? My name is Dante Toro. I live at 515 3rd Avenue. I actually do just have a bunch of questions. So when iStar transferred the boardwalk structures, the retail, to MAR, when you say transfer, that means sell? What was that number? Do we know? We have no idea. Anybody know what iStar sold the convention center casino to them for?
Under $3 million is my recollection.
Okay.
I think it was less than that. 2.5 million.
I'm sorry?
They got a credit for building the boardwalk also, but sorry we don't have that information. If you leave it with us, we'll get it all to you.
I was just curious myself.
Yes, we'll get it all to you tomorrow.
Yeah. A lot of my questions, Annette kind of went down the path I was going to go. So a lot of my questions are specifically about the job that's lined up for the waterproofing, and I think it was the structural elements of the Paramount, where you said that there was something coming up in a week that we were waiting on. What is that? What's coming in a week, or at your desk now, you have a week to respond? What is that?
Joe, answer.
I don't have a microphone, so, oh yes, you do. Okay. So the question is about the Paramount Theater and what I said earlier about what might happen in a week, and that is the approval of the addendum to what we call the sub-grant agreement between the city and Madison Asbury Retail. That the first phase, I'll just repeat that, provided $1.3 million to do an investigation, to see what had to be done. And now that happened. All those results are done. We have been told that the construction documents are done. We met yesterday with the representatives of MAR, as well as the Lou March from March Construction. And what we're waiting for are a few items. We're waiting for the project description of exactly what are they going to do. Right. We know it's not going to be anything interior. It's not going to be open.
Waterproofing and structure.
Waterproofing and structure, but we don't have a full description of that. We want a project schedule. These will be exhibits to the agreement. We want a schedule of values. What's a schedule of values? It is, you seem to know, it's a list of all the sub things they're going to be doing.
When it's going to happen and how much that's worth.
Yeah, what each item is worth, so that when they look for a payment after, say, a month, they submit a requisition to the engineer, the city's engineer, T&M. We'll review that to check it against the schedule of values to make sure that what's in that requisition has actually been done.
Right.
And then the payment will be made only if we have proof that MAR has actually paid the contractor for that work. So we're waiting for that schedule of values. It's very important.
And that's all stuff that we are waiting
we've
on.
been asking for that for months.
And you're expecting it this week.
We are expecting it Friday.
Right.
Maybe it'll dribble into Monday. I don't know, but I'm ready to drop everything to get this.
And then according to them,
I'm not finished.
Oh, please.
Yeah. So the other thing we're waiting for is comments on the language in the sub-grant agreement, which they have had, the addendum, which they have had for months. So we're waiting for that as well. Now,
They have to get back to you on that? And they are?
and they are to get back to us on that. Yeah.
Right. And then according to them, they're telling you, hey, we're going to send you these documents that you just described. You're going
Yes.
to review them. I'm sure you have a period of time in which you have to review them, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is. And then they've said, okay, once you approve, they're going to start.
Yeah, the plan calls for, and it may not happen, it calls for all these documents to come, for them to be acceptable to the engineers who are going to review them. I'm going to review the legal aspect. We're going to be plugging in these documents as exhibits to the binding agreement. And then, if all of this happens, on next Wednesday at the meeting, it would be ready for a vote by the city council to approve it. They have to submit to us signed documents before the city council will vote, so that they're committed.
I'm sorry, cut you off.
Yeah.
No, how are you getting that done before Wednesday?
That's the promise we've got. And and Joanne, we drop everything to deal with this. We've been pressing for this for a very long time. I'd rather have had it a long time ago, but I'm committed to do whatever we can to grab this opportunity so that, as been said earlier, they can get this done. They have a very short time period.
Okay, we're gonna have to move on.
Do we have an uncalendarized schedule from them saying once we start, it's this long?
We're waiting for that schedule. That's one of the items I mentioned, project schedule, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Believe it or not, I'm always nervous at these things. I'm never nervous with a saxophone in my hand, but speaking extemporaneously. My name is Karen Lee Schwartz, and I am the retired music teacher, one of the retired music teachers of this fine district. I gave 35 years to my teaching career, 21 of them in this district. And for 14 years, this was my playground, this room you're in right now. So I want to take in this room. I want to point out that in the 14 years that I put on concerts on that stage with the Asbury Park High School Band and Chorus, it would have been great to look out and see this many people from the community at one of my concerts. So the concern that I have, really, I don't know anything about buildings, and money, and I can barely make ends meet month to month on a pension and Social Security. I know about music, and I know about children. I haven't heard the word children mentioned too many times here, but I'm here to raise awareness. I don't really have too much to say to the group up there because I don't know about these things. I know about the convention hall crumbling on our heads during graduation ceremony when I had the band over there at convention hall. I do know about that. I don't care about Tilly. I really don't care about your Tilly sign. I'd like to appeal to the community to get more involved in the school system. You're the people I want to talk to today that don't go to Board of Education meetings, that don't know or care about the children that live on the other side, the brown children, who are the ones that are in this school system. How many of you know that there has not been a note of music played in this building since 2023? There is no high school band. Do you see what's on the back of my shirt? 14 years I gave my life, my blood, sweat, tears, put socks, sneakers, food in the mouths of these children because there wasn't enough money in the budget to buy pizza or to have band camp. There was no money for band camp, but there is money for everything else. You folks need to start going to the school. I know this is not your jurisdiction. My beef is not with you. I am taking advantage of the room full of people. Asbury Park has not had a band since 2023. When there's a homecoming football game, you know who provides the music? Tanya Peterson, the middle school band director, does it as a volunteer, brings her middle school kids over, and I round up all the alumni, and the kids get to hear music for one football game. This is a town that says, where music lives, music saved Asbury Park. Where's the music in this building? This is on you. This is not on me. This is on you to go to those board meetings and fight for our school music programs. We don't start music day until 6th grade. That's 3 years too late. Neptune starts in 3rd grade. By the 6th grade, they're either on the football team, a cheerleader, or in a gang. Thank you for your time. Please bring music back to the Carroll Hall of Asbury Park High School. Thank you, love you.
Thank you. Hold on 1 second, please. Joe, before too many people leave, and then they're going to say, well, why didn't you tell us? Like, we're going to vote on 2 resolutions tonight at the end. So, Joe, explain the 2 resolutions, please.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mayor. So the 2 resolutions are, one, to support the EDA tax credit applications, the cafe and the Star credit applications, citing the fact in the resolution that has been said that the convention hall is iconic, designed by the same architects as Grand Central Station in New York, and it's a key aspect of the Jersey Shore. It goes on to more detail than that, and asking that the resolution be forwarded to the governor, to the chairman of EDA, to the executive director of EDA, to the head of the State Historic Preservation Office, to Senator Gopal, to Assemblywomen Donlin and Peter Paul, and make the point that Asbury Park supports that application. As has been said, it is the nearest opportunity to get money in for that project. That's one resolution. The other resolution deals with the various other items that we've talked about tonight. The Boardwalk Arcade, I'll start with that. The point has been made that there's been a red ticket on the carousel. It was put on that building because it's connected to the Boardwalk Arcade. It's all one building. The problem is with the Boardwalk Arcade. Now, the pressure has resulted in a decision by MAR to repair. We have a letter from the engineer describing what needs to be done, and I believe it was yesterday that a permit was issued for that work to begin. This resolution acknowledges that fact and goes on to ask for what I heard was said, the schedule of when it's going to be done. Number 2, the letter from Collier's, Mr. Dahl, the engineer, also said that there is work that must be done in the next year, and if it's not done, the building will need to be demolished. So we are requesting the schedule of what they're going to do for that and the plan to do that and hold that commitment. The resolution also deals with the casino and the power plant. Casino building, carousel, and power plant. And I'll say one more time, those projects are mentioned in the 2010 agreement. I had a slide that showed that what has to be done there, it's mentioned specifically in that agreement, that there needs to be a subsequent development agreement. And so what this resolution is asking MAR to do is give us your plans for those buildings so that we may undertake the negotiation of that subsequent development agreement, which is specifically provided for in the agreement. I don't know how I can emphasize the fact that the casino buildings are mentioned in the 2010 agreement. So those are the items, as well as lastly, there's one more, and that is to amend a structural report with respect to the condition of the power plant, the carousel, the building adjacent to it, and give us a schedule of when that will be submitted. So those are the 2 resolutions.
Thank you.
You know, you totally scooped me because my ending thing was going to be, what are our action items? So thank you. But you know, in the line, that's okay. Thank you, Angela, Amy, John, Yvonne, and Eileen. I am Nicole Posini. I own it 1035 Summerfield Avenue. I bought it on the southwest side in 2008, defying my finances for the iconic uniqueness of art and music. Everything is different than anything I'm sure in the world. Pick up on other commenters. I've run 9 marathons. I've trained for 5 of them here, for possibly 1,000 miles involved in runs through those buildings. To the logistics and practical. If we think the legal system could fail us, is there a project plan that tells what needs are the most problematic costs that could possibly be handled in different ways? As in, are there a set of endeavors that we could put our own hands on at the buildings? Physically, help as we can, however and whatever happens, if not architecturally helpful, show our love the way that we can for our emotional, perhaps sharing with our networks and ourselves and our lawmakers to create these images, possibly finding a pro bono lawyer who will be helping with this. Perhaps at Pollyanna, bringing this to the capitalist side. If the needs of the buildings are brought up and offered as opportunities, are there companies who would eagerly sign on for a piece of it? Maybe that would take time, perhaps ultimately less time than 15 years of more lawsuits. Is there a however this goes down, is there a training and awareness opportunity for our local schools, chip by chip, as a grant and a set of funding? What if we have a music project there and put it around the world to bring up? Wouldn't that possibly create the imagery of who we are that could bring in funding to support emerging musicians? Many hands make light work. So, most importantly, as citizens, what are our action items? Are there deep pocket corporations we can tap? How do we reach to our networks? How do we show up and do the work? To support the funding and the cafe. Make sure that moves forward. It's got a lobbying campaign, fundraising campaign, but it possibly could be. Jen Hampton of Parlor wrestled 500 grand from the state. We have heard someone who wants to contribute 100. Maybe that's a drop compared to the need, but it's not insignificant if there is a drumbeat. If we each put our hands on it, fix it, is there a completely different model that says, this city's people come forth and do something ourselves that shifts the legality? Then does that change that legal weirdness? And chip by chip. The lady who said volunteer, you just gave us action items. Is there a thing that we all can do?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Check, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Joseph DiCamillo, 516 Summerfield Avenue, musician, barber, local contributor of culture here. My statement won't be much of technicality, but a little more of sentiment, a little more maybe moral substance or so. Thank you all for having this meeting and extending yourselves to do so, giving us information so eloquently. I do not envy your position at the moment, unless that's my profession. That being said, the issue with all of the structure in the boardwalk, I mean, it is just a symbol, it is a vessel for what is going on in this town and the greater picture of it. It is just a way of saying that we are being overrun by obviously multi-billion-dollar corporations from out of state, out of country, with no interest of ours. We are complete digits to them. Our community is getting replaced with gray condos by the week. It's way beyond Madison Marquette. It goes to iStar, it goes to Sacramento, it goes to everybody who's just divulging their interest in our town, scooping this up. And I don't mean to say that to be hoorah, I don't mean to say that to not have actionable items, but when it comes to the any intersection that you may be, Mr. Mayor and anyone on the council, when you say, hey, I don't know if I have a moral obligation or if I can vote on these things, if you do not vote in favor of the people here, we are bending to the will of everyone outside of us. We have no voice, we have no power. You guys are our arm. Music saved Asbury Park, the culture here saved Asbury Park. There's gonna be no culture. I have stood in this mic before and said that. I have said that when Sacramento was raising the rent for 30% and drove the whole Steinbeck building out. I have been there to say that. There's generations of people in this crowd that love this town, that are here for whether they're born, they have history, they're transplants. There's culture here that needs to be preserved. There's only one way to do it. This is how it has to get done. There can be no question. We will take them at every single corner. I'm sure everybody in this building will say that whatever resolution, whatever litigation model, however long, however daunting, however whatever, we all want it done. Let's get it done. No one's going to say no on that. Nobody feels differently. You may not feel differently. You may be mired in the legality of it, but the sentiment needs to remain the same. Nobody came out here because they don't care. Nobody spent the time here. This room should be sold out. This room should be sold out to the brim. This meeting should not happen on an emergency basis. It should not be a special occasion to see this flyer. This should be monthly. This should be quarterly. Whatever it has to be. This needs maximum transparency. You need events around this. You need better marketing around this. Give me a call. My band will headline. We'll do whatever. This needs to get attended. I don't know if Bruce is coming. The folk hero that we want is sitting right here. You all, everybody, myself included, we are the folk heroes that we want. If we do not put pressure and at least show up to you respectfully and have this discourse, these decisions we made behind closed doors with none of our future at all in mind, let alone our present. We all need to be here. Music can save Asbury Park, so can we. There's only one way to do it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Patty Cronline. I live in Ocean Township, and I am fourth generation in this area. My mother graduated from this high school, and even we're in her ring tonight, so she's here with me in that class in 1946. I have some questions, and I'm going to keep it short, so hopefully some of them can get answered. Who are the parties at the table for the 2010 Madison Arquette Agreement? Was New Jersey State Historic Preservation Office present? And if not, does that challenge the legal integrity of the agreement? That's my first question. The second question is regarding the Politan decision. After 15 more years of demolition by neglect, because that's what this is, demolition by neglect, has Madison Arquette truly worked in good faith as ordered? No. And can't the arcade be declared as blighted and drastically devalued in any eminent domain hearing? Yep. Thirdly, with the pending tax application that you're voting on a resolution for tonight, what level of oversight and safeguards would the city and state be providing to ensure a timely and robust historic restoration of the site? Can the state or the city actually ensure there is significant consequences if Madison Arquette fails again? And lastly, what steps is the city taking to have conversations with the current NJDEP and the governor about all of this to gather their support? And I'm happy to hear any answers to this question.
You have some answers, please.
There's a minute, 15 seconds left.
I'll try to remember all those questions. I don't know who was at the table in 2010. I presume to know. You asked, was SHPO or State Historic involved? Yes, they were. They actually entered into that easement agreement that specifically authorized the transfer of the property to Asbury Partners at that time. And that was done by that agreement. It had to be done because there was green acres involved. The other question was Politan. The Politan decision was not focused on good faith with MAR. It was focused on the good faith negotiations with Asbury Partners, which is now iStar, to work out the infrastructure financing agreement, and that has been done. That is underway. That work on the infrastructure is continuing as you drive through the waterfront redevelopment area. That's done pursuant to the result of those good faith negotiations following the policy decision. Trying to read my own writing. You asked about oversight. If the tax credit program is issued by EDA, that's an EDA-controlled transaction. It's not the city. But the requirement of the program is that there, as I mentioned, there be a very specific agreement covering many aspects of the transaction. My understanding is that EDA has engaged private consultants to review applications, to vet these applications, and make sure that the projects are doable and can be done. And with respect to the historic aspects of the building, part of that is pursuant to plans prepared by Michael Graves Associates. They are internationally known architectural firm, very highly regarded in connection with historic restoration. And I think I got them all.
I just have one follow-up because I had a minute 15, so I just have a quick question. I understand that the agreements will be state written, but I'm wondering if there are any significant financial consequences on the other end. I work with state issues and I do advocacy for many years, environmental advocacy for many years, and I know that enforcement is low.
Yeah.
So what are the real enforcement, and this is a big company, they got to be significant and meaningful for this to actually have teeth.
Yeah, well, let me get into a little bit of the weeds on how that program works. If the application is approved for 75, it's 83 to combine the two, right? So that means, as I said, they don't get $83 million. They have tax credits that they sell. They have to find a buyer for those tax credits, and they're not going to pay on the dollar. They're not going to pay the full value. However, there is a project that is more than the net amount they're going to get from those tax credits. I mentioned that they have to put in their own equity, 10% of the project. The project has been variously described in my presence as being 100 million or 120 million. And in that case, it would be something like $20 million of an infusion of equity. And when that is granted, that approval is given, the tax credits don't come in one lump sum. They come over a 5-year period. So the recipient has to front the money, enter into a construction loan with a bank to finance the project before they get their tax credits. It's sort of like what I was describing with how we're dealing with the Paramount Theater. We want proof that they've expended the money. I don't know what the agreement's going to say that EDA is going to have, but I believe that it will be very firm and tight because under Governor Murphy, you may remember that he came in to reform this program, this tax credit program. There was criticism of how the earlier administration had done that, and they revamped it to make it tighter and more transparent and more solid and responsible.
Thank you.
I don't know if it's going to be high enough for me. I'll scoot down. Can you hear me? I'm Madeline Monaco. I live at 1501 Ocean Avenue. I have been in Asbury Park for 10 years, and I have stood by and listened to Madison Marquette lie to us and watch them as they really don't want to put any money into the city. They want to take money out. So I actually had this question that was one of the FAQs. If they do succeed in letting our iconic structures fall into the ocean, what can they build? If they can't build commercial or residential properties, what is their incentive to keep those properties? Is there a way for us to think out of the box? Is there a way for Madison Marquette to be incentivized to donate those properties to the city for our stewardship, as opposed to theirs? You don't have to answer that now. I've been trained to think outside the box. Maybe it's a naive question, but I wanted to bring it up. Then we could perhaps create a public-private partnership, as has been done with the gorgeous St. George Theater in Staten Island and in many other structures around the country, to restore. our kind of structures. So that's one thing. The second thing is, some of you may remember that I was one of the leaders of the organization called Save Asbury's Waterfront, and we fought iStar against developing an elite pool club between 6th and 7th Avenues on the waterfront. There were many other factors involved. We fought for over 3 years against iStar. We rallied people from all over this city. People came to us for various reasons, environmental, social issues, etc. Maybe it's time for public outcry to come back again. Maybe we need to stage protests in front of Madison Marquette or Madison MAR, whoever they are, their local offices on a regular basis. When we won against the pool club, and again, I know there were other factors, it was not just public outcry, but it was a major factor. We got on major network news. We got on all the big major newspapers. We were all over the place. Local newspapers as well. Maybe there's a chance for us to stage regular, massive protests, like we're seeing going on in our country right now. Maybe not quite as big as that, but make some kind of public outcry. I know there was a protest in front of the casino a few weeks ago, a small protest. It was freezing temperatures, I understand. Weather is going to warm up. We can get out there. Thank you. Thank you for having this meeting, by the way.
I just want to tell you that I'm disabled. My spine is 1/3 metal.
Take people in the back there and say it again.
Excuse me. I just want to say I'm disabled. My spine is 1/3 metal. So standing on line is leaning, and there's nothing here like a chair to sit on except this. And this is the best I can do. Okay, I'm Joseph Meany, 1003rd Avenue, apartment 311 in Asbury. I have a couple simple questions. Who put in? Thank you so much. You were so sweet. Thank you so much. You were so sweet. Who put the orange neon stickers on the buildings? Did they or did the city?
City construction official.
Okay.
The city construction official.
Okay, because one says it's fixable, and the other one says it's not, and they're connected. So it's like, okay, that's a little strange. All right. Where do I want to start? Since they've been paying taxes, so far they're, quote, agreeing to the evaluations of the property. They might go back later and say, well, it's worth more. But you have a ballpark, and if they say, well, I want it worth 100% more, then you get to go back in time and say, well, then your taxes were 100% more, because you've done zero to add to the property. You haven't, do they need a permit to paint, to put a roof on? If they've never gotten there, they can't show you records that they did it, they have not increased the value of the property. The land has gone up, but the property is not, it's actually going down. So, you know, it's a nice little game to play with the taxes because they've agreed to it. The same thing with the steam plan and anything else they pay taxes on, they say they own, because you don't pay taxes on something you don't own. It's just unheard of. You know, they're a big company, they're not doing volunteer work. All right, the $70 million grant will be applied for by Asbury, but it goes to them. Are we the stewards of the money, or it belongs to Asbury? Because we can't be repairs on somebody else's building. So it's their money, but they just get the full amount. All right, that was one of my questions. All right. I don't know if anybody knows the history of Asbury Park, and I've been well into some of it. It's kind of new. The power plant, the steam plant, was there for a reason. The architects put it there to block the view of people from Asbury Park and the end of the casino building from the Negro, black, colored, African American beach. It's there for a reason. And on the deck level, higher end people were allowed to eat up there. Okay, so it's an actual historical thing for the segregation of Asbury Park, which is started by segregationists, okay? It is part of the history. And that divider, that little bit of breezeway walkway, is part of it. On the second, the large opening on the right of the casino breezeway when you walk in, it's because it used to be for trade shows. And so it was designed not to be an arch, it was designed to be big for trade shows. So, you know, it was for retail, it was for exhibition. And they're, you know, belittling that on purpose, but you can't, not with the big vaulted arch, you just can't do it. So that's pretty much all I had to say. Thank you very much for giving me this. Hi, my name is David Schreier. I live on Deer Lake Drive in Asbury Park. My wife and I have lived here about 5 years. But we lived downtown, and when we first moved here, and I just liked looking at all these green spaces all over town and water at the waterfront development area, and was always wondering what's going on with all these green spaces. I also like looking at maps and studies, and I saw this Rutgers study. I think it was the New Jersey Climate Change Resource Center that had painted some damning pictures about, well, pretty much everything east of Park and Heck. And the timeline was, 2030. I'm just reading some numbers. The sea level rises to 2.1 feet by the year 2050, and why would anyone want to build all these condos here? Well, maybe to sell them later, but the question sort of goes to motivation on the Madison, Marquette, or MAR side. It's my question to you. Oh, and by the way, thank you very much, everyone, for putting this together. But my question is it possible that all developers don't want to do a darn thing with the convention center and with the casino, etc., because it's going to be underwater? Why would they want to do a thing? So that's just a general question, but the specific question is, the questions are, A, does this report ever come out in conversations? B, is there a competing report? The reason I ask these questions is it was just updated in 2025. I looked at the data in 2023 and the numbers did not get better. Thank you. That's a question.
So your main question was whether there is no interest actually in repairing and restoring, just let them go.
No, the main question is...
Main question is...
Are you aware, questions, are you guys aware of the report? And if you, let's say you don't take it seriously, or Madison, I don't care, I'm just looking for your opinion. Is there a competing report that says, no, the water levels aren't going up that quickly, so to say?
Well, I'm very familiar with what you're talking about sea level rise. It's an interest of mine. I've written articles on that topic. There is a debate about that Rutgers report, and there's challenge to it. I'm not saying that I agree with the debate, but to answer your question, there is a contrary opinion about that level of rapid rise over that period of time, and so that is a disputed point. Yes.
Okay, then follow up, if I may, is anyone aware of a competing report? In other words, some other university has done something to counteract that on paper.
I believe that I don't know about a university, but I do believe that there are private entities that have criticized that and have submitted reports and challenges. There's a new real, and I can't remember what the acronym stands for, effort by DEP that's soon going to be adopted to adopt strict requirements for building in areas that are not presently inundated, but there's a threat of inundation. So in that process, there's been a lot of challenge to the science in the comments that have been made by developers challenging those regulations. So I think that you'll find literature out there.
My name is DJ Dunn. I live at 812 Prospect Avenue. And just for my edification, you're the law firm that represents the city, correct? Yes. And you started doing that in 2018?
That's correct.
For you guys. Very, very good presentation. Thank you for having this meeting. The presentation I thought was very good. It really did a nice job of laying out the issues, but to kind of summarize, we had a lousy agreement that kind of superseded everything in 2010, 2011. And you did a nice job of also laying out kind of the options that we have now. And again, they're kind of lousy. The best one is the one that has the big if it happens. So here's the thing that over the last several years as this has happened for me, because I've been down here for about 8 years now. And I get very excited when I read things. I've read up about most of all of this. When the state grant for the $20 million was announced, very exciting. And that still is exciting. It's kind of a bright spot in this presentation. However, what is the outcome of that? Waterproofing the building, does that mean we're going to have concerts next year in that building? What is the outcome? That's what I think most people are concerned about. God forbid that I say this out loud, but it wouldn't be the end of the world if that existing casino structure, not the carousel building, but the existing overpass, was rebuilt as opposed to preserved. But that's the thing, we want an outcome, we want a plan with an outcome. Right now, a month ago, those stickers went up and a panic ensued, and it obviously affected Madison Marquette and AR, where they came back and said, okay, we're gonna fix it. Which all that means is they're gonna put a wall up to make it stand up again. Nothing new. If they're going to waterproof the Paramount Theater and it stays as an empty, beautiful theater, nothing new there. Lipstick on a pig. We need plans, like someone just earlier just said. We need actionable plans with consequences. I know that's easier said than done, but that's what we need. I'm finished.
Hi, I'm Celia Morissette, and I've lived at 614 6th Avenue for 25 years. As a past vice president of the Historical Society, we have some members here tonight, the architectural legacy of Asbury Park has always been very important to me. Some of the newer members of our city might not realize that there were several early grassroots efforts to preserve our distinctive buildings, and some efforts were more successful than others. We were able to save the old Howard Johnson's building, now McLuhan's, but we lost the Chalmers building. 20 years later, we are still continuing to talk about saving our architectural heritage. I'm a member of our newly formed group called SOSAP, which stands for Save Our Structures. And we're concerned about the casino building, but we're also looking at additional structures that may be in peril. Some of you may or may not know that Dr. Angelo Chinisi was integral in getting the Paramount Theater and Convention Hall listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and this was in 1979. He worked on this in 1979. As many know, the Paramount was designed by Warren and Wetmore, we all know that, the same architects who designed Grand Central Terminal. The theater was completed in 1930, and in 4 short years, we'll be celebrating its 100th anniversary. And yet now, it's in disarray. We aren't able to use it. However, unknown to me, until I did some deep research, is that the casino and the Carousel House are also listed on the National Register as part of the Convention Hall complex. These 2 buildings on the southern end of the boardwalk are considered a significant part of the larger Convention Hall and Paramount complex and should be protected, as is the Paramount and Convention Hall. And this is actually listed on the National Register. We know that the current council was certainly not involved in 1979, and I mean, obviously. However, the city of Asbury Park had a 20-year historic preservation easement on the National Register. website, it said that this was established in 1997. I've heard other numbers being bandied around. And this was with the New Jersey Historic Trust to ensure long-term preservation of the complex. In 1996, the New Jersey Historic Trust awarded a grant of $1,245,000 to fund significant work, including the replacement of windows and the repair of the interior features of the Paramount. Now, I don't know, I wasn't around then. I don't know if any of this work was done and how that $1,245,000 was used.
Hey, Celia, you got to finish.
Oh, I'm over? Oh, so sorry. Okay, I didn't know. Anyway, and one quick statement. We're not a suburban cookie-cutter city. The architecture as well as the art, music, and our diversity are what make us unique. We want to protect our structures, be it the casino or the carousel, the Paramount or Convention Hall. As concerned citizens, our commitment is to work together, obviously with the city, to protect our legacy. Thank you.
Evening. My name is Keith Johnson.
Keith, hold on, pause that 1 second. Celia, if you could send us whatever documentation you have about the casino being on the historic registry. Joe, our records show that the casino is not, correct? Correct. Yeah, we need that documentation because our records are showing Convention Hall is, but the casino is not. Anything you have in writing?
I found it in the National Register.
Just send it to us. You know my email, Celia.
Am I up? Hi, my name's Keith Johnson. I've lived at the same place as that beautiful young lady, 614 6th Avenue, with my wife since 2001. I put down some words earlier today, but having heard so many sides of the coin today, I have to modify them a little bit, which is that two words come to mind when I look at all of this. They seem to be out of style in our country these days. Optimism and compromise. In terms of credentials, for me, I have a master's degree in art and architectural history. And prior to moving to the East Coast, I used this background to start a company in Detroit that was involved in restoring and converting industrial buildings in the first live-in lofts in the Motor City. So I'm no stranger to aging structures that are in disrepair. And since I'm turning 75 this year, snoring silly. But I learned early on, for a project to be successful, all the participants have to gain. I've worked with developers for the last 43 years of my company. We can preserve the past while working with the developer to create aesthetically appropriate spaces, but that also move us into the future. The casino building, or the Grand Concourse as it was once referred to, can continue to reflect our unique Beaux-Arts architecture, but still provide reasonable economic viability. I want to cut out some of this. Sorry. Just a perfect example in Detroit. Trappers Alley was a multi-use shopping mall that I got involved with in downtown Detroit that illustrated it was possible to transform 3 physical alleys, industrial alleys with buildings, by putting a skylight over it and building it out using the same materials. Every weekend in Michigan, there were at least 4,000 or 5,000 people down there spending money. It was a fabulous success. Preserving the facade of the casino and utilizing it as a concourse, perhaps with the addition of retail stores and food venues. But I think it should be incorporated as a clever portal to a new, more viable structure to replace the old one they took down. And in that case, since I do believe in preservation, they need a world-class architect. And you, sir, mentioned Michael Graves, who I worked with that firm. They're absolutely perfect. They would see the past and the present, how to meld them together. But part of that would be an insistence that it remains. I mean, look what I.M. Pai's pyramid did to the Louvre, but the Louvre is still there. So we're still the jewel of the Jersey Shore. Let's approach this project with that in mind.
Callahan. I live on Deer Lake Drive, and I'm a transplant. I've been here since 2022. I didn't even know this town existed. I grew up in New York State and we used to go to Seaside for our family vacations. I moved to Long Branch first, got out of there, and but I accidentally found Asbury Park. I'm not a Bruce fan, so I never heard of Asbury Park. And I was blown away by this town and all the amazingness. And once I started getting into like, why is this building falling down? This is the most magnificent thing I've ever seen in my life. And I couldn't figure out, why is it taking the town so long to get mad? Like, isn't there paperwork in place? So this meeting was great for me so that I could see that you are kind of doing things in the background and we didn't know, but it's still like, I guess one question I have is, and you may have mentioned it, but there was so much information, so I'm just asking again. What entity is in place that holds Madison Marquette, iStar, all the million names, holds them accountable? Like, this gentleman's waiting for some information in 2 weeks. We're hoping that they give it to us. All the things that we're hoping for that they don't give, who holds them accountable? Like, who can we go tell on? Be like, hey, they didn't do this. They were supposed to do this and they didn't do this. Who do we tell? Who does that?
You asked who we tell in connection with you mentioned the grant that we're waiting for.
Well, all of it, but
yeah, well, I'll talk about, there's pieces of it, you know, it needs to be said that. With respect to the money for the Paramount Theater, we are waiting for the documents so we can enter into that agreement. The money will come if they do that. The mayor has said...
So what makes them do it?
Well, think about it. There is a grant of money that is not a matching grant. They don't have to put up another cent. It's free money. That should be what induces them to do it. They're still saying as of yesterday they want to do it. But the mayor has said many times, if they don't step up, we're sending that money back to Trenton. That money goes back.
Nobody wins.
I know nobody wins, that's right. So the question is, who can hold their feet to the fire? That's what this presentation is all about tonight. How does that get done? Not easy thing to do. Not an easy thing to do. If they get the EDA, cafe, and historic tax credits, then you have the EDA holding their feet to the fire on that. You also have, and remember Joanne went through the SHPO easement, the State Historic Preservation easement on Convention Center. Now, that doesn't apply to the South Building, the casino, Paramount, and so on. But it does apply to Convention Hall. And the state of New Jersey has the power to enforce that. And so that's another lever to pull, is to get the state to enforce the SHPO easement on the Convention Hall complex.
And all the other legal things that are in place, all the things that you outlined,
Yeah.
all that have been, I mean, if I got served with papers and I didn't follow, I'd be in trouble. How come they're not in trouble?
Well, they are in trouble if they're listening to this room. They're in big trouble. But the issue is, but the big issue is this. If you got in trouble, I'm assuming something that may not be true. Are you a billionaire?
No.
Okay. That's the difference. That's the difference. Does the city have unlimited resources? No.
But isn't there anything over that? I mean, I probably sound like an idiot, but like, like Superior Court or the President or God, like, how do you
the President is occupied with other things right now.
I know that,
but
I'm just saying.
the Superior Court, yes, that's litigation. That's litigation. I talked about litigation.
It just seems like they get to do what they want, and then when we try to be like, hey, hi, hello, I don't know, it's like, how can we give them a permit to build a building? I'd be like this, hey, when you fix this building, you can build that building. You can't do that?
Well, I don't know what building you're talking about.
I guess because they're separate entities.
That's right, they're separate entities.
So they're way smarter than us.
That's why I went through that first visual to show the difference between iStar, that's building all the condos and the residential, and MAR that has the treasured assets we're
But
talking
they're not
about.
under one umbrella?
No.
They're so smart.
Well, maybe they are, and I don't know if they're smart. I don't know if they've invested a lot. They tell us they've invested $25 million in those facilities. And if they fall apart, they've lost $25 million. Doesn't make sense. I don't know.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stephen Satka. I'm an author. I'm sorry if I'm a little shaky. I'm recovering from a bad auto accident in Asbury Park. But the thing is that I am writing a book, and in the book, the casino and the carousel house are fondly remembered in my book, 60 Gates, which is going to be produced probably in the next 3 or 4 months, hopefully to be a worldwide best-selling book. So what I'm trying to do is I can't add anything to any of the logistics or the contracts or the deals or whatever that came and went, because I don't know anything about that. But I do know that when I was 4 years old, my grandma took me on that Philadelphia Toboggan Company's carousel. And I remember watching all the gearworks in that as it spun me around, listening to the air brakes in that carousel. And I became an engineer and worked all my life as an engineer. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring whatever I can bring attention to the situation that's going on here with the property at the beach. And I can't add anything to it otherwise than that the Asbury Park Press is going to be interviewing me tomorrow and getting some parts of my book so that they can do a book review page on me, so that this whole contest here that's going on today is going to probably be in the next few days in the Asbury Park Press as a feature article. So that's the little bit that I might be able to do to help the situation, is that's what I'm going to do. My grandfather came to this country in the 20s, and one of his first jobs, he never could speak English. He was a Ukrainian contractor, and he tore down the Waldorf Astoria Hotel on 34th and 5th Avenue. And ironically, I did a lot of research on that, found out what was built on that property, the Empire State Building. My grandfather did that. My grandmother probably corrected every tax map that the city of Asbury Park has for the past 20 years, because that's what she did. And that's how she got me to come down here to Asbury Park. She would get on the train to do the tax maps and drag me along with her and throw me up on the carousel. These memories are in my book, and I want to share them with the world, and I hope that they come out pretty soon. Like I said, I've had a setback of 6 months with an accident, and I think it's going to fly. So anyway, thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lauren. I live at 301 6th Avenue in Asbury Park, and I've been here about 4 or 5 years. Came over from Shrewsbury. I was there 9 years, born and bred in New Jersey, Beth Israel Hospital from Newark. And I just have a question, or just a statement really, is about the carousel was fine when Bruce made his movie. It had no, and that was only what? That wasn't even a year ago, maybe a little over a year. And then these townhomes and all this stuff that's going up, stock options, they don't pay taxes. My taxes 4 years ago were $4,500. Today, they're $10,000. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's a glorified apartment, 2 bedrooms.
Hi, Jameson Miller, Daily Drive. I've been here for 2012 is when I moved in. I just got a couple quick questions. You said there's 2 resolutions that you're going to be voting on tonight. I didn't see them on the agenda. I don't know if we're going to get copies of them. I don't know if that agenda is going to be updated just on the city website. I just pulled up the agenda and it was not included there. And just to understand them, the first is basically saying that you support MAR getting tax credits for the Paramount project, and the second is saying that we're going to define that there's work that needs to be done in the next year, or the building is going to be, needing to be demolished. Is that a correct understanding of those two, or can somebody explain that second one a little bit?
Well, I think the second one is we want a better explanation of what's going on. It's the entire complex, be it the breezeway, the old casino that was over the ocean, but the pad is still there, the building in between the carousel and the heating plant or steam plant are all in the same lot. So they specified that block, that lot. So like the attorney said before, hey, look, and I have pictures of it. 4 or 5 years ago, the steam plant was in much worse shape than the casino. So if their engineers think the casino is going to fall down, we want to engineer a report of every building to see what else is in bad shape or good shape or whatever, to put our minds at ease, because that stack, which was got rid of all the bunker fuel to heat the entire boardwalk, is quite hot. If that thing ever fell, it's going to be a lot worse than the casino breezeway. So it's to get it, where are you doing, what are you doing, when are you going to fix it, and then give us an engineering report of the other 3 structures.
Okay, so that makes more sense. Thank you. Also, thank you for setting up this meeting, having this meeting. I know it was a big firestorm, getting everything squared away.
I think over there is a copy of the agenda. Oh, it's a presentation?
Well, it'll be up on the website. The 2 resolutions we passed tonight and the presentation, one, there's a hard copy over there that we probably should have handed out. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, the presentation will be up, and these 2 resolutions will be up on the website. Give us 12 hours.
Okay, thank you. Also, just next week's meeting, I know you guys, nobody can post the agenda right now. But that vote, pending you getting the documents on Friday and it being reviewed and you all being ready to vote next week, will that be during the public portion of the meeting? Is that going to be the closed executive session or whatever you guys call that? Or is there going to be a presentation and public comment and then you guys voting on that next week?
Well, it'll be voted on separately, and because we're talking about it tonight, we'll make a short presentation on it.
Okay, thank you.
Hi guys, thank you so much for doing this. I know a bunch of people have said that, but it really means a lot to the community that you're holding this in a bigger situation for people to kind of really rally and show their support for things and ask their questions. My name is Caitlin Dabney, 400 Violate Drive. I've been in Asbury now since 2008, 2006-ish. I just have a few questions and then statements. I know a lot of information has been given out tonight, but if they were to receive the $75 million, does the obligation for the 11.7 million still hold true? And how did we go from 40 million to 11.7 without an assessment or property appraisal? Just kind of wondering how we got there. And then if we don't get that, if they don't get that funding, like the $11.7 million, where does that go? Does that come back to us, to the town? Would it go to upgrades or repairs on the boardwalk as it's kind of delegated towards that part of town? And then what is the town doing to ensuring that we're maintaining green space and common congregation areas for people of Asbury, the way the town kind of used to have with pavilions on the boardwalk, pools, the casino, the carousel, and the former palace itself, kind of just common areas for people to be in town and enjoy Asbury for what it is? And does the redevelopment, the waterfront redevelopment agreement have anything in that agreement about maintaining green space and what they plan to do for the quality of life that it provides? And then, not really a question, but just a statement. I have a lot of friends who work on the boardwalk and throughout town, and I was told to share with you guys that the businesses don't have working heat, air conditioning in Convention Hall, and Madison Marquette offices and the Mutiny Bar, which is owned by Madison, the food is not, just really isn't functioning for people that are working there day in, day out, trying to make money and survive in this town. So I'm not in that situation, but friends that I know that knew I was coming here wanted me to mention that even though they're operating and generating revenue, they're not actually providing good working conditions for the people who are in that building or buildings that they are operating and functioning out of. So again, thank you for your time. I appreciate you guys and kind of.
Okay, hold on 1 second. So Adam, you can have code and the health department go down and look at these buildings tomorrow, the Grand Arcade, because there's complaints that they're being run.
Well, unsafe work environments, you know,
Right.
there's no heat, no air conditioning.
Right, that's a health issue and everything, and then people can call the city anonymously, people can complain, you don't have to wait for, I'm not busting your back. You don't have to wait for special meetings, there's a place on our website that you can make complaints, and anybody working any place in the city under unsafe conditions or not great conditions should make those complaints every day till they're fixed, and to us and the
Totally
county.
agree.
To us and the county health department. The only other question I remember that I could answer is like, where would the money go? It would go back to the state of New Jersey, who would either have to spend it quickly or send it back to Washington.
There's not like a clause that it could go to a different part of Asbury, even the west side for development or something over there that could use the funding?
Even with like the $20 million, they got 13, we got 7. We wanted to use some of our 7 to do, we were limited to the boardwalk and the bathrooms. We wanted to do something with showers on the beach, and the state told us we couldn't use it. So it's very limited, and as far as like who oversees this, if the people that oversee this project oversee Cafe, they're not going to get away with anything, because these people won't let us spend money on anything unless it was applied for.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Albert Hutchinson, North 4th. I live on Lake Avenue in Ocean Grove. And I'd like to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the transparency this evening. Thank you to the rest of the council as well, and to the city's attorney for the clarity that we obtained this evening. I would like to suggest, though, that, Mr. Mayor, your proposal that the stiffest penalty that these individuals face for not meeting the $11.7 million to be spent by the end of the year, you suggest that perhaps they're going to look stupid, Mr. Mayor? It is time to figure out a mechanism by which these individuals have a stiffer penalty than looking stupid. They already look stupid. They're letting architectural splendors fall into the ocean, Mr. Mayor. It's high time to figure out a stiffer penalty or a mechanism by which penalties can be enacted. Maybe it's going to take individuals more intelligent that are present in this room today, but that is the method by which we can actually make some change beyond them looking stupid, because they already do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, I totally agree with you, but if you heard tonight, some people got up and said, like, we never knew, like, this is a legally binding contract. You cannot unilaterally change a legally written contract.
I would never suggest that you do such a thing. I just suggest
Well,
identifying mechanisms of action by individuals that are more intelligent than us currently in this room, by which these individuals can have their feet up to the fire, as you suggest. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, and that's why the presentation was made, and I wish there was more we could do.
There is.
What? Would anybody else like to be heard?
Move to close.
Well, wait, somebody, come on up, please.
Sorry about that. I just want to ask one question. My name is Adrian Nicholson. I live at 1203 Ridge Avenue in Asbury Park. I moved there in 1991, so I've lived in my house for 35 years. My taxes are ridiculous. Not knowing what year I'm planning on moving. Last year, my taxes went up $2,093. The year before that, it went up $1,965. The year before that, it went up another $1,000-something. I just retired at the Asbury Park Press, working there 34 years. My goal was to move in a house in Asbury Park where I had been born and raised here. The thing is that I can't even retire now because every year I feel like I got to get ready to move out of town because my taxes are so high, I can't afford it. I don't know when it's going to stop. They're telling me the school system, because we're paying most of the money, I'm not sure what to do anymore. So I really don't. And the thing is that 2026 is coming up. I'm assuming my tax is going to be another over 2,000. It seems like it's going to be 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. I can't even afford that. So I really don't know what to do. I really don't know what to say anymore. I'm just trying to live. And I really don't want to move out of New Jersey. I went to the Bangs Avenue School in 1964. That's where I started, from Asbury Park. I don't know what to do. This wasn't the dream. The dream was to live here, get a good job, try to do the right thing, live in my house, retire, and then live the American dream. It's not an American dream. It's like a disaster. And I don't know what to do. Honestly, I really don't know what to do. So I don't know when this is supposed to stop, or even if it's gonna stop, because I could be next year and I'm like, okay, I can't do it anymore. What am I supposed to do?
All good questions, and we all wish we knew the answer. And I believe you're right, there's going to be another tax increase this year because of the S2 bill, not because of the Board of Education, because of the bill that was passed 8 or 10 years ago. It increased weaned the Board of Education off of the money. And people are talking about, Mr. Sacramento, the 2013 agreement when the city and I-Star Master Marquette and everything, they were high-fiving like they won the Super Bowl. And I'm thinking, why are our lawyers high-fiving their lawyers? Because they did hit the Super Bowl because they just passed $68 million worth of bonds. But I was at that meeting and I said, well, what happens if the state starts weaning the Board of Education off of all the money they were given because of being a Burke-Apperson case? And the answer was, well, we can't worry about that. And it came back, and that's exactly what happened. And there's, you can make an appointment, you can come down to City Hall, you can give me a call. I mean, a lot of people don't know about the senior freeze. Are you aware about the senior freeze?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I mean, it's a great program. We can help you with it. Angela's had programs at City Hall. Finn Gopal's office will have people come and meet you. We do stuff at the senior center to get people in the senior freeze. And you're absolutely right. I mean, the tax increase is going to force a lot of people out. If I was on the senior freeze, I'd be out. And I just got on. Thank goodness Mr. Murphy raised the amount you could make. So that's the only option I can think of. But if you want to meet, I'll definitely meet with you one day at City Hall. We'll talk to all the department heads and whatever you want to do.
Okay, appreciate that.
Okay. Where are you on Ridge? Not ready to end of Ridge and Ford.
I'm right on the corner. I tell everybody, if you're driving down 4th Avenue and you don't have no brakes, you're gonna run right into my house. And it happened already 3 times.
Well, you can go to the tax office. I'll tell you who owned that house in the 1920s.
Yep, Mr.
The Bromleys. The Bromleys.
Right.
The Bromleys. Who owned all the concessions in the casino.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Had a business down there and he used to pump his own gas in his garage.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm at 1407 Ford, so...
Yeah, I think I remember what
you can walk to me, I can walk to you, whatever you want to do, sir. And again, I don't think it's going to be a pleasant year. I'm not going to speak to anybody. That's why, again, like I said, I don't know if I can morally pass on another tax increase to anybody without like the public voting on it. Like, I honestly mean that. I mean, so if I get beat up for being honest, I get beat up.
Understand.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Move to close.
All in favor? Public participation is now closed. We are now moving on to our resolutions. First up, I have Resolution 2026-125, resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Asbury Park acting as a waterfront redevelopment entity to support the pending applications of Madison Asbury Retail LLC for historic and cultural arts facility expansion tax credits and urging New Jersey Economic Development Authority to approve the applications to enable the restoration of the historic Asbury Park Convention Complex. Do you have a motion?
Move it. Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Yes.
Mayor Moore?
Yes.
Resolution 2026-126, resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Asbury Park acting as a waterfront redevelopment entity, requiring actions be taken to repair and renovate the casino building, including the Boardwalk Arcade, aka Breezeway portion, the structure between the Boardwalk and Arcade and the carousel, and the power plant. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Councilmember Bez Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman? Councilmember Clayton? Deputy Mayor Quinn? Mayor Moore?
Yes.
If that is all for tonight, do I have a motion to adjourn?
No, not yet. Before we adjourn, I'd like to thank everybody for attending. I'd like to thank everybody for being polite and courteous to everybody. And I'd like to thank Joe and Joanne for putting on a great presentation. I said like 3 weeks ago at a council meeting when someone said, you should have this meeting. I'm thinking to myself, well, Jesus Christ, we just found out about it 2 days ago. So we did it as quick as we could. Thank you.
Motion to close. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.